All right. Can you hear me now? I think you can hear me now. I was saying before my computer decided to not connect me, I was saying that, um, okay. Hi, Katie. Hi, Karen. Hi, Megan. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. And so, no, I was saying that I ran in here, I late. I ran in here, got mail out here, got mail on the shirt. I was so delicious. Is it not? Let's see. Okay. 1 second, everybody. All right. Are we good now? Are we okay? Thank you, Instagram. Thank you, guys. I think okay. So we're good now. Are we good? Good now. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As I was saying, I was making chicken salad. I said I apologize for being late. Lots going on behind the scenes. We're getting ready to go on vacation on this weekend. It's a lot going on and making dinner. I was making dinner, made some chicken salad. And yes, and I was saying I got mayo down here. If you could all see, because I'm just running around here. It's a big old mess. But we're just gonna stay right here where nobody sees all the mess, right? Okay, y'all. Oh, I also said hi, Megan. Hi, Karen. Hi, Katie. Hi, Instagram. Cole One, Miniola. Hello, Stingray. Hello. Smoke Puff Puff. Hello. Andre. Hello. Hello. Gary, Jason, Lewis on IG. Hi, welcome. Um, well, y'all, we have to talk about Ingrid Christian again. She is, well, we didn't get into the second part of her Dear White People speech. And once again, I've got the transcript. So we can make sure that we follow along and and Richard, I'm not sure what you're talking about there, but yeah, we got to make sure that we can follow along. And she also, I printed out what she said about Nolan Wells, so we're going to talk about that also. Okay. before we get, okay, these are okay. I'm just making sure that we're good with the comments. Good with the sound, excuse me. Megan, it's real bad, girl. It's really bad. We definitely need to add her to, like, seriously. I'm not joking when I say this, that we need to, add some of these people to our prayer list because they need it. Seriously. For this woman to be like, I believe she is acting. I think that she is acting. This whole, like, poetry, Martin Luther King, weird, just the way she does her thing. I don't believe it's authentic. I think she is putting on a show. And I think the more we watch, we will see that is what is happening. Megan says it's worse, LOL, than her other rant. That's sad. Yes, pray for her. She is so lost, and I believe it's performative as well. I mean, you're this is really gonna drive it home. This first one that we're gonna play. You're gonna be able to see it now. Her things are like 3 minutes long, and she responded to my comment on Instagram. So we'll get into that. But just to keep things moving along, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Listen, I need you to hit that like button. I need you to share this video out and put some gold hearts in the chat for your girl, okay? Gold hearts in the chat for your girl. And as always, click the link in the click the link. Well, not let's see that. I want this one. Click the link in the description to come up and disagree. This is a call-in show. If you disagree, please click the link and come on up. All right, are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready to get into Mrs. I'm not sure, Ingrid Christian, who claims to be a Christian? And yeah, these are the things that she is saying.
People, what have we done to you? Don't give me no BS story talking about y'all didn't do nothing. I'm not that type of person, because the last time I checked, you sat there and built an entire country off of our backs. A country that was ours before it was ever yours. You sat over here and came and stole our land. You talking about the ancestors of mine that sat there and went through the slavery times. The ones that you would use as a house slave. Sit there and have them nourish and sucking from my bosom. At the same token, I was beat. I was spit on. I was degraded. I was deemed as unhumane for the things that you sent me through just because I wanted to learn the American literacy. The dream that we all sit here fighting for in 2026 for every child to have equal rights inside of a school system. You talking about the ones where I pay tuition for my child to go to school at, and I'm still deemed as not enough. You talking about the ones where certain curriculums you leave out on my child. No learning how to balance a checkbook. No learning how to be an entrepreneur. No learning how to build your American dream up or whatever it is. Instead, you turned us into a corporate businessman. I sit here and work my ass off to the bone to get a college degree, and it still ain't enough, and I'm still deemed as overqualified on a...
Okay. Oh gosh. Whew. Everybody take a deep breath. All right. Take a breath. Woo. She's just late. She's got a lot to say. Clearly. She's perturbed. Clearly. She's been, she again is experiencing an America that I am just unfamiliar with. And I think I'm probably older than her. I don't know, maybe not, but she definitely is experiencing an America I'm unfamiliar with. I don't know about you, but I just like it's insane. But let's take just a gander. Let's just do a recap. What she said. Okay, so dear white people, this is a letter, an Oprah letter to white people again. What have we done to you? She's trying to figure out what blacks have done to white people. Don't give her this sob story. She doesn't want to hear anything. Basically, she doesn't really want to hear anything that you have to say. White people, take notes. She doesn't really want to hear anything you have to say. She really just I guess wants you to just listen to her complain. I'm guessing. Okay. So don't give me no BS story talking about y'all didn't do nothing. I'm not that type of person, because last time I checked, you sat there and built an entire country off of our backs. Okay, let's pause right there. Let me get my highlighter so I can highlight the important parts of this letter that we're going over. Okay, so the last time she checked, you sat there and built an entire country off of our backs. Now, I I'm not a master, builder of countries. I've never built a country. I've I've built a small business, several small businesses. I've done that before. Um, I've built I've built Legos. I have definitely been involved in building some character in my children. I've never built a country though. That's for sure. I've never done that. And I don't know a lot of people who have actually done that. So I'm confused. And I don't want to hear the sob story of her checking while I guess the white people sat there while blacks built the country. Now, the part that I am missing is they tell us all the time that this country is a white supremacist country and all of these things. Now, if I'm a white supremacist, I'm not going to sit back and allow all of these, I guess slaves. I think she's talking about, like, when slaves were here in America, that they built the country. But I fail to see the connection there, because I think you have to have plans. You can't, it's not just the putting the bricks, it's building a nation. To me, now this is just me, maybe it doesn't work like this, but I'm just saying, like, if I just imagine in my mind everything that it would take to build a whole country, especially one that like the United States of America. They didn't have a model for it, there was no blueprint, so these are things that they had to come up with themselves, right? So they had to come up with these things, they had to come up with the system, they had to come up with the Constitution, they had to come up with the Declaration of Independence, all the things, the law that would sustain the foundation of a nation, law and order. Got to establish that. So I guess I'm not saying that you didn't build the whole country and all these white people were sitting back and just waiting. I guess I just want some proof. I just want some evidence about these wild claims that you make, ma'am. Where is the evidence that white people just sat back while the slaves were creating the systems that would govern how this country functions? I don't see in history them being a part of that. I mean, maybe some labor in, like, the physical building of a building, but before you even get to a building, you need blueprints, you need a system, you need a plan. I don't see that right there is the main part of building the country. The building of the actual physical structure is last. So the point that you're trying to make of, oh, you sat back and we built this whole thing and you don't give us any credit. Well, the part that is needed to actually have a building, I think they did that. I do think they did that. So I don't know. I've never built a country. Maybe she has. Maybe she's built a whole nation before and she knows exactly how this goes. But let's continue. Oh, let me see. Oh, a country that was ours before it was ever yours. Okay. You sat over here and came and stole our land. You talking about the ancestors of mine that sat there and went through the slavery times, the ones that you would use as a house slave. Sit there and have them sucking from my bosom, At the same token, I was beat, I was spit on, I was degraded, I was deemed as unhumane. There's that, being deemed unhumane again, for the things that you sent me through. Just because I wanted to learn the American literacy. So you know, she was spit on and beaten, degraded, said that she was inhumane simply because she wanted to learn to read. That's not the account of slavery. It's certainly not a full account. It's certainly not it's we're missing a few things in there with the slavery account, but okay, all right, cool. The dream that we all sitting here fighting for in 2026 for every child. Okay. So she wanted to have literacy and all these things and, you know, fight for this dream. Let's continue.
How to be an entrepreneur. No learning how to build your American dream up or whatever it is. 26 for every child to have equal rights inside of a school system. You're talking about the ones where I pay tuition for my child to go to school at, and I'm still deemed as not enough. You're talking about the ones where certain curriculums you leave out on my child. No learning how to balance a checkbook. No learning how to be an entrepreneur. No learning how to build your American dream up or whatever it is. Instead, you turn us into a corporate businessman. I sit here and work my ass off to the bone to get a...
Wait a minute. Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. No. You don't get to just say all this stuff and just run on by. Listen, again, if you disagree with me, click the link and come on up, because of this, you got to explain how you can be this, do what she's doing, say what she says, and also call yourself a Christian. I do not believe that you can do this, say these things, behave this way, and still call yourself a Christian. I'm not seeing it. I don't see it. She says, hold on. She says, you sent me just because. Okay, so she wants just to learn American literacy, the dream that we all sitting here fighting for in 2026 for every child, to have equal rights inside of a school system. You talking about the ones where I pay my tuition for my child to go to school at, and I'm still deemed that's not enough. I'm just wondering by who, like what school, what teacher, who is telling you this, your children this, and you're paying tuition, and what, they're not letting your child go to school. I'm confused on that. But whatever it is, according to her, that's not good enough. And then, okay, so we're talking about the ones where in certain curriculum you leave my child out. So again, you know, this is like, you're not teaching Black history. Okay, that whole thing, we know that's not true. No learning how to balance a checkbook. I'm guessing in the school system. Not learning how to be an entrepreneur. Now I want to pause right there, because an entrepreneur is a business owner. You're starting a business. And then if you just, because she says not learning how to build up your American dream or whatever it is, you turn us into a corporate businessman. But do you want to be, you just said that they don't teach you how to be an entrepreneur, but then you're mad that they're turning you into a businessman? Do you want your children, or you and your children, to be taught how to be an entrepreneur? Or do you not want that, the corporate business? Like, you're saying you're talking sideways out of your mouth. The other thing about this whole little paragraph here is that there's no accountability. She has her children apparently in a system where she has a choice to put them in a system that she doesn't like. They're not teaching them how to balance a checkbook. They're not teaching them how to be an entrepreneur. They're not teaching them how to build your American dream or whatever it is. And she's upset that they're turning them into a corporate businessman. I don't see how this is somebody else's responsibility, ma'am. This is parenting. Teaching your children these things, that's your job. That is the job of a parent. It's not on, if you put your child in a school that isn't teaching them the things that you deem vital and necessary for them to learn, why are they there? This is America. They don't have to be there. You do realize that, right? They don't have to be there. Okay, moving along.
College degree, and it still ain't enough, and I'm still deemed as overqualified on a job application. Dear white people, what have we done to you?
Let me finish that up. So she'll, turn us into a corporate businessman. I sit here and work my butt off to the bone to get a college degree, and it still ain't enough. Now, we don't know what kind of degree, because that matters, but I digress. And I'm still deemed overqualified. Now, she got all these underqualifications, but then she's still deemed overqualified. On a job application, dear white people, what have we done to you? Well, ma'am, I mean, if it don't sound like you really know what you want, so it might be hard for you to understand what someone is doing to you when you can't even properly understand your responsibilities in a society and other people's responsibilities. Your responsibilities as a parent, as a citizen, you have your own responsibilities that nobody else, no government, nobody else is responsible for. When you meet your maker, he is not going to be asking you, what did the government do for you? What did the government do for you? God wants to know, what did you do with the life that he's given us, given you? That's what he's going to ask.
Don't give me no BS story talking about y'all ain't did nothing. You sat there and went inside of a house and killed my African-American auntie, my sister, my mother, over boiling hot water. And in the meantime, you sitting there walking close to her and she sits there and say, the blood of Jesus. Apparently, the same man that you sit here claiming you worship, you adore, you identify, you love so much. You talking about the one whose hair is like wool, eyes like fire.
What?
It's still...
Is he drunk? Are his eyes red from the drunkenness? Oh my gosh. Listen for the umpteenth, millionth time in Revelation when when John is talking about Jesus having hair, his hair being white like wool, he's talking about the color, not the texture. I just have a sneaky suspicion that she's going in the direction of the Jesus is black. See, yeah, we don't realize how many people actually believe this nonsense. This woman is probably she's a regular churchgoer. If you see her in church, you're probably not going to think she's a black liberation believer. You're probably not going to think, but this is this is what they believe.
It's like wool, eyes like fire. It still wasn't enough. So, dear white people, what have we done to you? You talking about the one with Carmelo Anthony? He sat there and defended himself against Caucasian bullies who wasn't even supposed to be at a track meet. You sat there and tampered with me. You tarried with me. But because also you sat there and painted him as a murderer inside of news media, you forgot the fact that he also sat there and saved a Caucasian baby from drowning. Dear white people, what have we done to you? Talking about Nolan, who went out on the lake with Caucasian friends and never came home. But a phone came home. No explanation. You want to give this sad, sob-ass story as a judge. Dear white people, what have we done to you? Trayvon Martin walking with a pack of Skittles and an Arizona tea. Deemed as a threat with a hood on. Dear white people, what have we done to you? We're fighting. We're not against you. But for some reason, it still ain't enough. My mom taught me that type of tactic, but you still sitting there with your asinine ass, ain't got the audacity to sit there and do your research and see we was never the problem, but now you sitting here stealing my culture, calling it your culture. You never knew anything about
Wait, did she just do like a Kamala Harris? She is acting. This woman does not believe this stuff. She's just saying what you want to hear. This is a grift. The whole blackness, black church, it is a grift. That's why they only show up when they can racialize the issue, because money exchanges hands. If in America now, a racial issue turns into dollars. That's the only reason why. These people don't care about Black people. They don't. This woman is just full of, this is nonsense. Carmelo Anthony was bullied. Lie. You're a Christian, and you are bearing false witness against other people. You don't do that. You don't bit more care about what God has commanded us to do. You just want your own glory. This is not for God's glory. This is for your glory. You're not using the talents that he's giving you for his glory. You're using it to manipulate people. You straight lied. Every single case that you said, you lied. You haven't bothered to, let me make sure I'm correct. Let me fact check. But you want to tell other people to fact check. Girl, this is pathetic. Click the link below if you believe that this is biblical, that this is how biblical women of God are supposed to behave, what we're supposed to say, how we're supposed to act. Is this a true? This is what we're supposed to believe? This is sick.
But for some reason, it still ain't enough. My mom taught me that type of tactic, but you still sitting there with your asinine ass, ain't got the audacity to sit there and do your research and see we was never the problem, but now you sitting here stealing my culture, calling it your culture. You never knew anything about a cornroll until we sat there and was finding our way to...
This is sad. Trayvon Martin, Carmelo Anthony, Nolan Wells. He just went, all of these white people that just are doing Black people so dirty. That's all she sees. She doesn't see white people in particular as actual real human beings. You're just a skin suit. And the skin suit, it's basically one big blob. It's just, if you have less melanin than this is what you do, this is who you are. She believes she has the ability to read the hearts and the intent of other people's hearts because of their skin color. And then she believes that she can speak and be the heart of all Black people. You do not speak for me at all. You live in a delusion. You do not live in reality. All right. Oh, so she goes on to talk about Nolan Wells. So let's see what she had to say about that. And we are actually going to fact check.
To all of my race friends, whatever nationality you in, whatever God you believe, hey, let this be a public service announcement. Let there ever be a time.
What was that, ma'am? Okay, yeah. I don't know what the freak that was. Let's hear that one more time to see if we can understand.
Hey, to all of my race friends, whatever nationality you in, whatever God you believe, hey, let this be a public service announcement. Let there ever be a time that my baby walk out this house with a group of friends and not return home with everybody else. You're going to feel every emotion that I feel times 10. Yeah. Let there be a time my son's property is returned back to me, but his body ain't, and it's not untouched and it's not unharmed. I'm going to show you why repercussions and consequences really should have been my middle name. I'm going to show you that I was the little girl from St. Louis, Missouri, the most grimiest state of all 50. How I came home from the hospital to a house in Castle Point. Then relocated over there to Berkeley, over on Hancock. The second house to the right, it was blue back then. Might be painted now. Right around the corner from Airport Elementary. Across the street and around the corner from Kinlock, where my uncle ran them domes at. You know what I'm saying? Mainly the apartments. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you why my family lived in Kirkwood. I'm going to show you that I also had a cousin that was just executed by the state. Because when it came down to playing with his brother, we ready. You know, I'm going to show you why they call St. Louis the show me state. You show me 7 and I got you 8. I'm going to show you exactly why. If I take your body over there to that east side, across that bridge, you're never going to be found. It could never take a judge or a lawyer to get anything done. I'm just going to go ahead and warn you now. You can pull who you need to pull. Orange is actually a very vibrant color on me. I've smiled in a mugshot before, and it had nothing to do with my children. And I'll do it again, especially if it's a matter of fact, turn it into a video, please. I'll post it myself. I'm going to show you exactly why I grew up mute most of my life. You see, my problem is that I know so much, and I lay low and I place low intentionally, because the love that I have in my body, when you take me there, it's hard for me to tap out. I'm going to show you that I'm scared of me more so than I am you. Because when it comes down to me, I'm deranged and I'm unhinged. I change faces on people's bodies.
Now, that is final. Finally, we get some truth. Deranged and unhinged. But listen, it didn't take you losing your child to get that. You already are deranged and unhinged, ma'am. But you just don't seem to see that. That's one place you told the truth. All right.
How crazy I thought I was at one point, until I know you try me when I'm true, and that's when we gonna show you that some shit gonna get through. You can ever bet, let my boy walk out this house, Jesus Christ would have to dig in Satan's pocket himself and throw ice water to everybody down in hell to get me off you. I'm going to show you why I shower with my ning ding in the shower with me, thanks to my uncle. If I...
Hi, friend. Wow. Whoa. I apologize to everybody that had to endure that. Right. Click the link and come on up if you believe that is, first of all, that is blackness. That is blackness in action. That is a Black Christian. And if you think that represents true biblical Christianity, I want you to come up and explain this to us. Please come up, state your case, how that woman is representing true biblical Christianity. Hello, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, just detached from reality in every sense. First and foremost, she is detached from reality as it relates to her own talents and ability to communicate. She's incoherent. She's ranting and raving like some lunatic, some unhinged lunatic. I would advise her, despite the, her point of view, listen, young lady, you don't have the erudition, the eloquence, the talent, the skill that you think you have, that you could just click play or click the live button on your device and just start riffing. You don't have it like that. What I'd advise you to do is organize your thoughts, prepare, write it down, summarize it, something, ask AI to compose it for you, I don't know. Pre-record your content, edit it, and then post it. I have no idea why, or maybe you do pre-record and you do these one takes and you play it back and you go, that's right, that's good. Post it and let the world see me like this. Ma'am, you're barely literate. You are incoherent. Your thoughts barely connect. You're so frantic and emotional and over the top that you can't even put a concise message together. I don't know who is impressed by you, who's moved by you. Dare I say that even the people who agree with you find you quite annoying and off-putting because, like I said, man, you're barely literate. So yeah, just do a better job at fine tuning and prepping your content before you expose yourself to the world in this way. It goes back to what I said on Monday. Like I said, she's not even embarrassed in the slightest because she thinks that, yeah, I'm out here killing them. Yeah, I'm moving them with this here oratory. No, man, you are making a complete fool of yourself, trying to, conjure up the oratorical oratory style of the Southern Black Baptist preacher,
Mm-hmm.
something with this ridiculous homily. I have no idea what you're doing, what you're trying to.
Wait, Chuck. Wait. Hold that thought right there,
I
because
have
this,
no
I mean,
idea.
it's just funny. Okay, so let me make sure I get the right one.
People,
I think it's this one, but
what have we done to you?
Oh
okay, no,
God,
I'm sorry, not that one. I'm sorry, no, it's not that. Everybody, like, please, no,
I'm
not again.
I'm
Is
just I'm,
To
I'm
all
suffering from
of
secondhand
with a group
embarrassment.
of
oh wait,
hey,
oops, sorry. What'd you say?
I said I'm suffering from secondhand embarrassment. It's,
I
it's,
know.
it's really, people often, you hear people use the word cringe a lot online. It kind of gets
Mhm.
overused, but this, I mean, there's no other word to describe.
Guys,
This is so cringe. I'm embarrassed for her. I am.
listen
I
to
am.
the beginning though. This is like, what in the world? What do you make this out? Listen.
to all of my race friends, whatever nationality you in, whatever God you believe. Hey, let this be a public service announcement. Everybody, let there
A rabbi? A rabbi? Maybe that's some St. Louis slang. It's a rabbi? What did she
I
start? I don't.
think I think she's mimicking or mocking speaking in tongues. That's what I think.
Okay.
I think she's trying is like that southern, that tuning up as they call it. I'm just
Well,
like,
yeah. And you hit the nail on the head. I am so sick and tired of this lie. I said it 1,000 times on this channel that slavery built America. Slavery didn't build America. That's a lie. It's about
mhm,
how well a group of individuals operating separately, sometimes collectively, can bring knowledge to bear on matter, to bring knowledge to bear on resources. Think about it this way, and this is one thing that a lot of people take for granted when it comes to economics. And this is clear that this woman clearly she needs an economic lesson, and so do a lot of black academics who know nothing, but
black
like to come
academics.
online and spew garbage. The periodic table is the periodic table, and what I mean is that the same exact elements, or we call them natural resources in a more economic or political sense. Like I said, the elements in a more scientific sense. Those elements have been around since the days of the caveman, but yet still the caveman lived entirely different from the way we live. What's the difference? It's not necessarily the amount of knowledge, it's the type of knowledge. Because resources, i.e., matter, cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. And the knowledge that you bring to bear on your resources are going to determine what you transform that matter into. And so it's a human capital thing.
Mm,
It's not about simply the manual labor that's taking the resource out of the ground. or growing it and cultivating it or picking it in the form of cotton. You understand? You have to ship that cotton over to a place where those who can, it's like in an alchemaic sense, you have to transform that thing into something of value, and that's a organizational process. That's a technological process. All of these things involve, as you mentioned, Keisha, a specific type of understanding and a certain type or certain set of institutions that can organize that knowledge
Mm-hmm.
so that the things of this earth can be made into something of value. Okay. Slavery doesn't do that. It just doesn't do that. And like we said before, here's the thing when it comes to slavery. It's interesting because slavery in a way is sort of like our political system. It is vertically and horizontally integrated. And here's what I mean. Because sure, the law protected the institution of slavery, but slavery or slaves, individual slaves were owned by individual people. It was a private matter. And when you have a private matter, even though you have a formal structure or a formal hierarchy, i.e., a master and a slave, that's the formal relationship. But there's a separate dynamic apart from that formal structure. This is what we refer to in sociology or even economics as informal relationships. And so it balances out the formal and the informal. And what I mean is that relationships between slaves and slave master was those relationships were unique. This is why oftentimes slaves came and go as they pleased. Slaves worked
Oh,
in so many
Chuck.
instances.
Now
Mhm.
most
I
black
want to
people
hear that.
believe that every single African slave was beat half to death. They had
No,
absolutely no nothing. There was just it was just beating and
no,
working.
no. That fact, some slaves owned a wage. They were able to earn for themselves. They were able
Mhm.
to purchase their own freedom. Some slave or some blacks who were slaves went on to gain their freedom, earn their freedom, purchase their freedom, and then went on to purchase their own slaves,
Mhm.
right? And also, it was seen as a bad business practice to be abusive to one slave. And a lot of people would say, okay, that makes sense because if a slave is your property and you're investing in that property, then why in the world would you misuse it? The same way in which it
Exactly.
wouldn't make sense to abuse or misuse anything else that you own. That's true, but also that there was a certain level of expectation when it came to how masters were to behave. We've talked about this before on this show about how Jewish morality and Christian morality, same thing in many instances, laid the foundation for the eventual, right? A liberation, if you will, or our a revulsion towards the institution of what we refer to as slavery in general. But it began with the bringing forth the divine bringing forth of certain parameters when it came to how slaves and servants were to treat one another. But more specifically, of course, I mean, slave masters and servants were to treat each other, but more specifically, how the slave master or the owner was to treat the subordinate. And you didn't have those restrictions and commands in other parts of the world where slavery was to being practiced. And the reason
Mhm.
why I bring that up is to say that amongst the slave owning class, now every white person, even that owned a slave, was not considered a part of the quote unquote aristocratic slave class. This is what historians refer to them as, or in other instances, you'll hear them referred to as the quote unquote Southern gentry.
Mm.
Not all white Southerners were part of the Southern aristocratic gentry. Even some whites who did own slaves did not just sit back and allow the slaves to do the labor while they collected on the back end the reimbursement. Many slave owners were out there with the field working right out there in the field working alongside their slaves. Also,
Mm.
There were some slave masters who had a better, like I mentioned, informal relationship, a closer bond with their slaves, which would usurp the authority of the overseer that was employed by the slave masters to ensure the harvest and so on. And so these relationships were very unique. And as a result of that, it became commonplace for white slave owners to look down upon their own who were rumored to have been abusive or were known to have mistreated their slaves. It was bad for business because the other slave owners, whether they be white, black, Native American, and so on and so forth, they would shun you, they would disown you, they would refuse to do business with you if
Mm-hmm.
you sully your reputation by being known as a slave, or to when if you were known to be a brutal taskmaster.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of slave, or those who had holdings, or in slaves, or involved in some form of business, whether it be related to slavery or not, they wouldn't do business with you if you had a bad reputation. And that was the quickest way to ruin your reputation, was to be uh unjustly abusive towards a slave.
Mm.
And so
Look,
this
I
was
just want to
this
read really
became
quick.
very.
Booker T. Washington, Up from Slavery.
Go ahead.
And so TT is here, everybody, and he's been waiting patiently behind the scenes.
Hold
TT,
on.
I see you, but
Hold on,
I
Keisha.
gotta do two things.
Before you bring TT in, and after you read what you're about to read, Keisha, do you mind if I say one more thing in response to
Oh no,
this raving
yeah,
lunatic? Okay,
yeah,
thank
go
you.
ahead.
No, no. Oh, you want me to keep? I said before. After, you can go ahead if you want to read book a
Oh
passage
yeah,
one.
this is a quick
And
little
I'll read.
paragraph on slavery. Let me just do this so we have more. So this is Booker T. Washington's book, Up from Slavery.
Mhm.
All right. So he writes, now, for those of you who do not know, Booker T. Washington was a slave himself, unlike W.E.B. Du Bois and many others. Okay. He was an actual slave. And so this is his writings after slavery ended. Listen to what he says. When freedom came, the slaves were almost as well fitted. Listen to this from a slave. For all of you who are in the comments, oh, why are you so happy about? We're not. It's just the facts. Okay.
That's the facts.
When freedom came, the slaves were almost as well fitted to begin life anew as the master. What? Are you
Yeah.
serious? Let me continue, he says, except in the matter of book learning and ownership of property. The slave owner and his sons had mastered no special industry. They unconsciously had imbibed the feeling that manual labor was not the proper thing for them. On the other hand, the slaves, in many cases, had mastered some handicraft, and none were ashamed and few unwilling to
Mm,
labor.
that's right.
So basically, they ended up better off than many of the slave masters and their sons themselves.
Because they didn't have it. They had no aversion to menial tasks, or quote unquote menial or demeaning work. This is also true of many what we call in economics middlemen minorities. Of course, the most prominent middleman minority the world over would be the Jews, and
Mhm.
secondly would be the Chinese. This is especially true of the Chinese. They have, very culturally speaking, for whatever reason, they're not averse to menial tasks or menial labor. 'Cause again, it's a pride thing. They don't much care. And like Booker T. Washington said, is another interesting factoid, or another interesting thing to note, is that by the turn of the 20th century, rates of literacy amongst blacks in the United States was higher than the whole of Spain. And Spain,
Wait, in America?
yes, blacks in the United States had a higher rate of literacy than the entire population of Spain by the turn of the 20th century. So from the 19,
Really?
going into the 20th century, blacks were far more literate. What did the Tulsa Massacre and the likes teach you? I'll tell you because you don't know. Oh, well, I almost cursed because you don't know anything about the Tulsa riot. It wasn't a massacre, but I'll address that, Keisha, if you like. If not, I'll just ignore it because that's in.
I just wanted
Yeah,
to
that's
throw it up just
cultural.
so we could see
Mhm,
what's going on. But go
mhm.
ahead.
Yeah, but like you said, so blacks were more literate at that time, far more educated, and they were far healthier and far more well fed during slavery and after slavery than those on the European subcontinent. The per capita calorie intake among slaves here in the United States was higher than it was for certain European populations who were scrambling, trying to make it to whatever part of the world that they could in order to escape hunger, uh, dehydration, starvation, and so on and so forth. Particularly, of course, we're all familiar with the great potato famine that almost starved out the entire country of Ireland. But to this lady here who's going on talking about what have we done to you, blah 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 blah, and this guy Andre from the other day talking about bringing up all these instances and why he has this fear or some kind of apprehension when it comes to whites here in the United States. These are just a few stories. I want to share these stories with the audience. This is interesting. I don't do this thing to engage in like some tit for tat, but it's very illuminating because it shows you the dishonesty of these people and how they are morally unscrupulous.
Mm,
They are lying through their teeth because they have agendas. And the
yes.
hypocrisy is so thick, you can cut it with a knife. As I remarked the other day, just a couple of instances, this happened in Tampa Bay, Florida in 1995. I think I said 93 yesterday, but it was 95. Three people, this is from an archived article from the Tampa Bay Times. I'm just going to read the first few sentences in the article. Three people were charged Sunday. This was printed on October 4th of 2000. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Its original publication date was November 20th, 1995. Three people were charged Sunday with killing a pregnant woman and two of her children and slicing open the woman's womb to remove her full-term infant son.
Oh my God.
The infant, named Elijah by relatives, was found with one of the suspects Friday, authorities said. The child was in good health and at the hospital. Elijah was found hours after 28-year-old Deborah Evans and two of her children were slain. The bodies of Evans and her 10-year-old daughter Samantha were found in her apartment in this Chicago suburb. Police searching for Evans' 8-year-old son, Joshua, found his body about 12 hours later in an alley in Maywood, about 10 miles to the east. Of course, the reason why I mention this is because the victim and her children were white and the three assailants were black. This was in Tampa Bay, Florida in 19, I mean, I'm sorry, this was in a Chicago, near Chicago in 1995. I'm sorry, the article that I was able to find that neatly summed up the incident within the first couple of paragraphs was printed in the Tampa Bay Times. Here's the story of the Bonner Park murders. I mentioned the Bonner Park murders the other day as well. This happened in Flint, Michigan in 1997. Let me read to you what happened in Bonner Park in 1997. The Bonner Park murders referred to, and I just pulled up the story and I'm reading from Google AI that just neatly summarized what occurred. The Bonner Park murders referred to a notorious June 1997 attack in Flint, Michigan, where three teenagers from Oakland County accidentally got off of a freight train and were ambushed by local youths. The victims were lured into Bonner Park, severely beaten, sexually assaulted, and shot, resulting in the death of 14-year-old Michael Carter. More details. On June 18, 1997, three teenagers, Michael Carter, 14, Dustin Kaiser, 15, and a 14-year-old girl, hopped a freight train in Highland Township, Michigan, seeking a ride to Holly. The train unexpectedly stopped in a rough area of Flint. Lost, the teens approached a group of local strangers for help finding a payphone. Instead, the strangers lured them into Bonner Park. Once in the park, the teens were ambushed by a group of up to a dozen individuals. The perpetrators beat all three victims, sexually assaulted the lone female victim, and shot all three in the head. Michael Carter died from his injuries while Kaiser and the young girl survived. All three victims were white. The perpetrators were people of color. Oh my God, white people, what have you done to us? You know what's so interesting about all this, Keisha? Where were the riots? Where was the outcry on behalf of white? This is why I bring all this up to show you how dangerous this two-tier reality is.
Mm.
Let me pull to some. I know I'm probably boring y'all, but let me get to some instances that are more current. Do you all remember the case of Paul and Lydia Marino? They were an elderly couple. This happened back in the year 2020. Paul, 86, his wife, 85, from Elkton, Maryland, were randomly shot and killed while visiting their son's grave at the Delaware Veterans Memorial
What?
Cemetery in Bear, Delaware. The assailant, 29-year-old Sheldon Francis, ambushed the couple from behind while fleeing in the woods after engaging in a mass gun battle with the state police and was found dead hours later from a gunshot wound. Despite an investigation, authorities stated his motives were unclear. Two white elderly individuals, a married couple, went to visit their slain son at a veterans memorial and was picked out by a black assailant who randomly shot them unprovoked. And the excuse we were told was that he was anxious and nervous over COVID. So he just was lashing out because he was afraid that everybody was about to die from COVID. What about the instance of Jessica Whitaker? What happened to Jessica Whitaker? This incident described as the fatal shooting of 21-year-old Jessica Whitaker in Indianapolis, Indiana. According to her friend and fiance, Whitaker was walking along the downtown canal with friends when an argument broke out with a passing group. Whitaker's fiance stated that the altercation began after someone in their group used a racial slur, prompting the other group to shout Black Lives Matter, to which Whitaker, the victim, or someone in her group responded, All lives matter. The two groups briefly confronted each other but separated after realizing both parties were armed. However, moments later, someone fired at Whitaker's group from a nearby bridge, fatally striking her. While
Mm.
Whitaker's family believes she was targeted over the All Lives Matter retort, police stated at the time they had not independently verified if the argument was prompted but it verified if the argument prompted the shooting or if the shooter was affiliated with any specific activist group. See how they tried to spin it, say, well, these people, they weren't involved with the group called Black Lives Matter. So we
Mm-hmm.
don't know if they were motivated by that. What about the instance of John Savy and his son, James Savy? This also happened in 2020. Both men were white. John Savy and James Savy were beaten to death in their Windermere, Florida home by a burglar attempting to steal their car. While a 10-year-old grandson hid and called 911, the intruder attacked the family with a baseball bat, also seriously injuring Lisa Savy. The perpetrator, Ezekiel Hopkins, a black man, the dead father, and his son, beaten with a baseball bat, were white. What about the murder of Cannon Hannett? We all remember the murder of Cannon Hannett, the 5-year-old white kid that was murdered by his black neighbor. We all
Mm.
remember that. Cannon Hannett was a 5-year-old American, by reading from Wikipedia, was a 5-year-old American boy from Wilson, North Carolina, who was shot and killed on August 9th, 2020, while playing in his neighbor's yard. Hannah's neighbor, Darius Sessoms, was arrested for the shooting within 24 hours on the December, fast forwarding 2 years, December 29th, 2022. Sessoms entered an Alford plea. An Alford plea is a plea when you don't accept guilt, but you
Right.
believe that the state has enough evidence to convict you, but you're
Mm-hmm.
not saying, you're not taking accountability. And Alford plea allows it to blah 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 blah. The murder gained further coverage due to prominent conservative figures claims that the murder was racially motivated, claims which his family have repeatedly denounced. So we don't know exactly why he shot him, but of course the boy was white, the man was black. Lastly, this is my last little moment here, and I'll yield the floor. This was a South Carolina college student, and her stepfather were shot dead over a fender bender. And a 21-year-old, first couple of paragraphs I'll read, a 21-year-old South Carolina college student and her stepfather were shot and killed on the student's front lawn Monday in an apparent road rage attack after a minor fender bender. Laura Ashley Anderson and her stepfather, Charles Nicholas Wall, 45, were killed outside of Anderson's new home in Georgetown, South Carolina, where her family said she was expected to begin her new life. Tasheem Walters III, Tasheem, 23, allegedly rear-ended Wall as Wall turned into the driveway of the home to drop off some keys for Anderson, according to Georgetown County Sheriff's Office. The Georgetown County Sheriff's Office. Walters then allegedly got out of his vehicle and fatally shot Wall and Anderson, who he had been standing in her front yard waiting for the set of keys. Oh, white people, what have you done to what have we done to you? Let me just Keisha, real quick, let me just read you something that I pulled. I can't see my computer. This is something that I pulled directly from the National Victimization Survey. According to the National Victimization Survey, whites are the overwhelming target of interracial violence. Between 2012 and 2015, Blacks committed 85.5% of all Black on white interracial violent victimizations. Let me repeat that. Blacks committed 85.5% of all Black white interracial violent victimizations. That excludes interracial homicide, which is also disproportionately Black on white. That works out to 540,360 felonious assaults on whites, while whites committed only 14.4% of all interracial violent victimization, or 91,470 felonious assaults on Blacks.
Wow.
Again, this is a total detachment from reality.
Yes.
Everybody knows who has the problem and where the problem lies when it comes to violence and safety. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Lastly,
Crazy.
I'm sorry. Do you happen to know, while we're talking about this young man who we don't know exactly what happened or whatever, we're still trying to figure this out and want to
Right.
turn this into another racial cost celeb.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the name? And there are people in the chat who are probably familiar with this because this was somewhat big news, but yet still there was no racial narrative drawn around it here. But are you familiar with the woman by the name of Shanquella Robinson?
Yes, I am.
Thank
That
you.
was such a sad story. Can
Talk
I
to me.
tell the story? I'll just give the brief overview.
Go ahead.
I think she was a hairstylist. She was doing very well for herself, something like that. She takes her friends, paid for them to go on a trip with her to Mexico. She ends up not coming back. Remember Miss Thing? Oh, if my child don't come back and all of this. Well, this young woman, generous, paid for her friends to go on vacation, and they were the ones that ended up setting her up and, if I'm not mistaken, being responsible for her death.
Well,
I don't remember the exact what they actually found out, but I know that the friends were involved.
that's the popular opinion, but they were never charged because I guess there wasn't enough evidence to charge. The crime was committed in Mexico, and the Mexican authorities have not issued an arrest warrant. Since then, civil charges have been filed. The 3 or 4 friends that were with her have been sued essentially. But yeah, she traveled with her companions. They claim that she died of alcohol poisoning. A Mexican autopsy revealed her cause of death was severe neck and spinal cord injuries. A viral video also surfaced showing her being brutally attacked in their rented villa. So she got into it with her friends.
Yeah.
I don't know if they lured her all the way to Mexico to set her up, or if, friends getting into a little argument, things got a little bit too heated, they ended up getting into a fight. She suffers severe spinal cord trauma, ends up dying. Her own Black friends, Shanquella, her own Black friends tried to cover it up. Despite a Mexican arrest warrant being issued for an unnamed suspect, no criminal charges have been filed in the U.S. In the absence of a criminal conviction, Robinson's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against her six, not three or four, six travel companions, often referred to as the Cabo Six. Where's Ben Crump? Where he at? Where's Sharpton? You know,
Exactly.
he pulling Tawana Brawley out of garbage bags covered in feces. Where's Al Sharpton when you need him?
Mm. Well, I mean, I think the friend they did what Al Sharpton has taught them to do: cover it up, lie. I don't
Everybody
know nothing.
everybody knows that blacks are the problem when it comes to violence and murder and crime. Everybody knows that. Even the
And
people
the faster we can acknowledge this,
exactly who try to get up on these social media platforms and demagogue, they know it's true. They know it's true, and they're not willing to put the cost of their own lives. Where their money, they're not willing to do. They're not willing to put the cost of their own lives up to the challenge. They're not willing to do that.
not at all. You
They're
got
not
to
willing
click
to,
the link who is that? Eagle
and
Fly. You got to click the link to come on up if you want to discuss. Thank you, DT, for the $5 super chat. Says, thank you for bringing the receipts, Chuck. Let's make this video go viral because people need to hear this, y'all. Do a DT ask, please, because enough of this. Oh, blacks never do anything, are constantly the victim, despite all of the evidence that is not true. I want to show you guys. Homegirl responded to me, or she responded to my comment, but through someone else. So she says, at too cute for BS. Hood, she's hood with a master's and bachelor degree, sis. Work corporate, and I teach my white supervisor her own job. Daddy a pastor and mama a savage. I think she's thinks she's Beyonce or something. Equal balance, and I'll pick every hat up when fit. Thank you, sis, for speaking up for me. Step back and let them talk, baby. Okay, girl. I just wanted to show you guys the response, just to be upfront and fair. That was what she said, and I mean, it's obviously she doesn't see her own ignorance, because in the post itself, it goes against what she told us in her other speeches. Okay, in her poetic bull crap.
well,
okay, let me. Oh, what? Go ahead.
and I was in this current era of hyper specialization. Just because you say you have a bachelor and a master's degree doesn't tell me what you are adequately equipped to discuss.
Exactly.
I mean, you could
I
just
mean,
get
what
up
are
here
we
and
talking about?
just
Lesbian
do all
dance
type of
theory? Did you get
nonsense.
your master's in lesbian dance theory? Did you get your master in basket weaving? I
I have
don't
no
know.
idea.
Who
I have no
knows?
idea.
I don't know what
I
you
have
got your
no idea
master's
what you're
in.
talking about. And like I say, a lot of times these degrees aren't worth the paper that they're printed on nowadays due to credential inflation because of the subsidization of higher education and
Mhm.
also the overall lack or decline in the quality of education due to all of these educational fads that became in vogue during the 1960s. And we've been living under the tyranny of this academic quackery ever since.
Indeed. Uh Divier, no, we're not gonna show up to nobody's job. We're not gonna do that. We're not showing up. We ain't pulling up to nobody's job. Now you can email her, go. I mean, don't harass her. We don't promote that. Don't harass her. But I mean, you certainly engage in conversation, engage in respectful dialogue, especially if you are, calling, don't come in the name of the Keisha King show if you're not coming respectfully. Or in the name of Christ, okay? Because we don't, that's the main thing. Let's keep the main thing the main thing. All right.
She might be competent in her job, but
Right. She could be. TT.
not have to do anything.
Yo,
What you doing?
what's
How
up,
you
fam?
doing?
What's up, family? How y'all doing out there?
We doing good. How are you?
Oh man, everything is lovely. Everything is lovely.
All right, let me lay some ground rules before we engage in this, okay? Now, I need you to be concise and I need you to stick to the topic. We're not going to be going from all around in circles, okay? Because we want to actually get somewhere. That is the goal. So, you know my stance, you know Chuck's stance. You cannot be pro-Black and Christian. You're not a Christian, right?
Oh yes, I am.
Oh,
I
you
am.
are a Christian. Okay.
Yes,
So how can you be pro-Black and Christian?
because the original Christians are Black people.
Okay. Where's your evidence to support that?
Sure. Give me a second. Yes. If you can Google, I'm on the phone right now. There's a like Google in Acts is a is a is a is a verse that says um Simon and Barnabas
TT.
there was in Antioch. Yes. Hold on. I mean, you asked me, so just let me. They were called nigger, so that's in the Bible. So that proves that they are. I mean, want me to show you it? It's in Acts. Just hold on a second. It's in Acts.
What's the scripture?
We're
TT?
in
What's the scripture?
Acts. Acts. All right, hold on a second. Acts somewhere. Where is Acts?
It's after John.
There were Simon and Barnabas. Antioch. Who was? Hold on a second. That were called nigger. It's actually in the Bible, really.
I think
Let me
it's pronounced
see.
Niger or something like that. I don't think it's pronounced how you're saying it.
Are you reading it? Are you reading it?
No, I'm waiting for you to
I mean,
tell
you know
me
what
where
I'm
you're
talking
going.
about,
What
right?
you doing, sir?
Hold on a second. Let me pull up the actual verse. Let me pull up the actual verse. The actual verse.
I got a
pull up
question
the-
for you while you're thinking on that. I need here's something a bit more pointed. Here, this is 2 Corinthians 5 verse 16. It says, therefore, from now on, we regard no one according to the flesh. Even though we have known Christ according to the flesh, yet now we know him thus no longer. How do you deal with this scripture and also say that that we are supposed to regard each other by the flesh?
Okay. The verse I'm saying is Acts 13.
You just gonna skip past that? You're not gonna answer the question?
Acts 13 verse. Oh no, I mean, like, you asked me to prove what I was saying, so that's what I'm saying. Acts 13, 1 through 4 is somewhere. Oh yeah, Acts chapter. Oh yeah. Yeah. Acts 13, verse 1.
And what does it say?
This proves that this proves. And
What does it say?
if you can put it on the screen, please, if you don't mind.
All right.
Acts chapter 13, verse 1.
All right, there we go.
Yes. So now, can you mind interpreting that Acts chapter 13, verse 1 for me? And like, I mean, how do you interpret that?
Now in the church that was at Antioch, there were certain prophets and teachers. Barnabas, Simeon, who was called Niger, Lucius of Cyrene, Manaen, who had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch, and Saul. As they
Yes.
ministered to the Lord and fasted, the Holy Spirit said, "Now separate to me Barnabas and Saul for the work to which I have called them."
Yes.
Them
So
having fasted and prayed and laid hands on them, they sent them away.
yes. So my point is verse 1, they were called nigger.
No, why don't you read it? Read that.
Okay, I'm reading in now there were in a church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers as Barnabas and Simeon that were called nigger.
No.
Nigger,
That's not what it says.
nigger just means black. That's all it
That's
means.
not what it says, though.
So,
Slow down. Read it. Read the part where where it says Simeon.
Yes,
Read
Simeon,
that.
who were called Niger.
Okay, Simeon, who was called Niger. That is not saying that these people were black. It's saying he was also called another name.
Were they Israelites? Was on Simeon and Barnabas Israelites?
I think so.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
So yes, they were Israelites. So,
Yeah, I think so.
yes. So Israelites. So the word Niger is not a nation.
I don't think
Like,
all of these people were Israelites, though. I'm not sure. But anyway,
only Israelite. I mean, like it says they were called nigger. So the point is that the Christians, the Christians were black people that were called nigger. This is literally saying nigger in the Bible. So the word nigger means black. The word nigger means black. It's right. It's right. It's right there. It's right there in front of your eyes. It's like now. It's literally right in front of your eyes, right there.
Okay, I want you to deal with this right in front of your eyes. Okay. Therefore, from now on, we regard no one according to the flesh. Even though we have known Christ according to the flesh, yet now we know him thus no longer. What does that mean? Does that mean we still look at people by their ethnicity, their skin color, their culture, or do we go beyond that and we regard them in a different way?
It says does the Bible contradict itself? Let me ask you that.
Sir, I asked you before you said, I said, please stay focused. How do you read this scripture that says, do not regard people according to the flesh? And you're telling me that we should regard people according to the flesh. Why are you disagreeing with the Bible? Because the Bible does not, no, I mean, the Bible does not contradict itself. It's saying the same thing over and over. You just don't understand what it's saying. How are you saying that we are supposed to regard people according to their flesh when this is telling us not to do that? Okay, who wrote that book right there that you're reading from? If you can't answer the question, I'm going to kick you. I'm asking you. I'm asking you. Answer the question. How do you? You're not answering the question. If you're not going to answer, you're going to get kicked. Now I'm saying this is the truth. How do you regard people according to the flesh when the Bible tells us not to regard people according to the flesh? Okay. Do you mind reading Romans 9:4? No, I'm not. No, that will answer your question. That will answer your question. That will answer your question. My stage. Goodbye. That will answer your. Goodbye. Absolutely not. Not doing it. Not doing it. That's ridiculous. Absolutely Ridiculous. Hi, Mrs. Graves. Hey, Pro.
Yo, yo, Keisha, yo, I'm tripping. I couldn't hold it no moment. I Keisha, I had a question for him. I wanted to know. I mean, okay, brother, first Christians were black. Gotcha. Okay. I mean, and I mean, that was the next order of business I can imagine, but he didn't make it past phase one. But yeah, I mean, yeah. And he said not, but Niger or nigger, meaning black, derived from the Spanish and Portuguese tongue round about the 16th century. The Latinized or the Latin kind of bastardization of the Spanish pronunciation of the word Negro, which means black. To me, seems a bit of a misnomer because he is taking something that didn't become common parlance until centuries later and bringing it back to and this makes sense in his mind. That's why I just laugh, bro. It ain't. It's not even worth. I just yeah.
Don't even bother to, I mean, they just run. They just, when you start asking, it's like questions, pointed questions, they dip, they're out.
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny.
Crazy.
That was funny.
Aaron, how are you? Is this which Aaron is this? Is this our good friend Aaron from back in the day? Aaron, are you there? Aaron going once. Aaron going twice. All right, Aaron, if you want to come back up, do that. TT, I'm sorry. Should we give him one more chance?
Hey man, it's comedy to me. That's on you.
Should we give him one more chance?
That's on you. I'm sitting here chilling.
One more chance.
Maybe I need it. Maybe I need a laugh.
All right, let's see. All right, TT, you gonna answer the question?
Yes. Like now, yeah, like now. I mean, how do you understand the Bible and read the Bible? How do you read the Bible and understand the Bible?
You're not answering the question.
Yes.
How do you regard people according to the flesh, those who are in Christ? How do you regard them according to the flesh if we are told to not regard people according to the flesh?
Yes. My answer is Romans chapter 9.
No,
verse 3.
I need you to deal with this.
I know. I'm dealing with
this is
it.
very pointed. This is not, there's no.
I know. I'm giving you the
clear.
answer. I'm giving you the answer. The answer is Romans chapter 9, verse 3.
Just tell me how.
The answer is, if you read Romans chapter 9, verse 3, it explains like your answer. Like it tells you the answer. You just read Romans chapter 9, verse 3. This is about God. We're not arguing. We're talking about God. Just read that. It will answer your question.
Tell me how it tells us that we should not regard anyone according to the flesh. We don't even regard Christ according to the flesh. And so now you're going to tell me that Romans says, oh, no, I'm sorry, never mind. We do actually regard people according to the flesh, even though it says we don't regard Christ according to the flesh.
I'm just saying. Now, your answer is found in Romans chapter 9, verse 3. That's all. Just read Romans chapter 9, verse 3. That's it.
You're telling me
it's no big deal. Just read verse 3.
You're telling me that Romans 9 is going to contradict.
No. The Bible does not contradict itself. You just don't understand it. That's the point I'm trying to tell you. It does not.
Okay. So you think you understand it, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So since you have this grand understanding of how we can regard people according to the flesh, what's the scripture that disproves this or shows me that we're reading this wrong? Just tell me what it says.
I just told you Romans chapter 9,
you
verse
didn't tell
3.
Me what it says. You just gave me. I'm just asking you for just an overview. Tell me,
I
give me an overview of what it says.
mean, is it like so hard? Just pull it up on your screen.
Is it
Just
so
pull it
hard
up
for
on
you
your
to
screen
just tell
right
me
there.
what it says? Like,
I mean,
why can't you just say what it says?
okay. For I wish that myself were a curse from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants, plural, and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises, whose are the Father, and as concerning the flesh, he says it again, the flesh. I'm talking about the physical people, like my kinsmen, according to the flesh. That answers your question. That's what I'm saying. The Bible does not contradict itself. You don't understand. How do you understand the Bible? There's a verse in the Bible that tells you how to understand the Bible. So before I read that, how do you understand the Bible? Before I read that verse, how do you understand the Bible?
You already read it. You said, so this says, I tell the truth in Christ. I am not lying. My conscience.
Exactly. He's not lying right here. Exactly. He's not lying. What he's about to say
I
right
don't
now.
need you to do your Hebrew. I don't need you to repeat what I'm saying. We don't need to do that. Okay. You're slowing me down. I tell the truth in Christ. I am not lying. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Spirit that I have great sorrow and continual grief in my heart. For I wish that I myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my countrymen, according to the flesh. Now, according to the flesh.
Continue reading. It gets worse for you guys.
Who are Israelites according to, I'm sorry, who are Israelites, my countrymen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption, the glory, the covenant, the giving of the law, the service of God, and the promises, of whom are the fathers, and from whom, according to the flesh, Christ came. Who is over all, the eternally blessed God. Amen.
Yes.
Let's keep reading.
So
no. Let's keep reading.
I mean, we just read the answer. We just read the answer. We just read the answer.
All right, listen, let's continue reading. You're muted, TT. But it is not that the word of God has taken no effect, for they are not all Israel who are of Israel, nor are they all children, because they are the seed of Abraham. But in Isaac your seed shall be called. That is, those who are the children of the flesh. These are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted as the seed. For this is the word of promise. Okay? At this time, I will come and Sarah shall have a son. Anyway. So
yes.
What is the distinguishing factor here of those who are the children of the flesh and that are truly Israel? What is the distinguishing thing that makes them true children of God and not children of the flesh?
That's a great question.
What is it?
It explained in verse 5 to, verse
You
7
can you think
to.
That
your
ain't
own
even
thoughts?
Okay,
necessary,
Do you
bro.
okay,
have
That
the
ain't
okay,
even
ability to
necessary,
think
bro.
your own
okay,
thoughts?
okay, okay. It's saying the only verse 7 to 9 is it's saying the only people on earth who are the children of God, you must come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Goodbye.
That's
Goodbye, sir.
that's what it's
Goodbye.
just saying. That's what.
Y'all better, you better press the people that you listen to. Do you hear what I tell you? Y'all, but all these people that want to hop online and Deuteronomy 5:22. Listen to me. What these people do not know what they're talking about. This girl, this chick,
Be a time that
this
my
one, I got to show this to you.
walk out.
This woman has hundreds of thousands of followers. Hundreds of thousands of, I think across her platform, probably over 1 million people that listen to this woman. This man he doesn't even have basic reading comprehension skills, and neither does she. As many as the degrees that she claims she got, clearly she ain't fact checking nothing. She's not. This is all just purely whatever I think of in my head.
Yeah,
So her
absolutely.
master degree, her bachelor degree, none of that taught her. I don't know where she got it from, but apparently none of it taught her to dig into the theories to kick the tires on her own theories. I don't know. When I went to school, those are the kinds of things that they taught to us, to test your own thoughts. That's what the Bible says that we are supposed to do. This is basic reading comprehension. Let's read the scripture.
Go ahead now.
This is ridiculous, Chuck.
Come
Quit.
on, now. Come with it now. I'm just, hey.
Oh, help me. This is like, it's pathetic. Uh-oh. Hold on. It's pathetic. This don't make no doggone sense because this is not hard. But it is not. The word of God has taken no effect, for they are not all Israel who are of Israel. There is now a distinction between those who are Israel by ethnicity and those who are Israel by being in Christ Jesus.
That's right.
That's what this is, a continuation of 2 Corinthians, that we regard no one according to the flesh. Why don't we regard anyone according to the flesh? Because now we have the new covenant. Now we have the ability to all be in Christ Jesus. That's why we don't regard people according to the flesh, because if you're just looking at the flesh, it's not going to tell you who your real brother or sister is.
Right.
Jesus himself says, who is my mother? Who is my brother? It is those who do the will of my Father. That's how we know who is of Israel. Okay? This ain't hard.
Yeah, I stuck my ear out. I'm just waiting for him to get an obvious answer. He trying to comb through scriptures. I said, bro, you ain't even got to do all that, bro.
You
You
don't
need to
even have to
believe.
do it. Just tell me what it is. Let's
Right.
continue though.
You got to
Nor
believe.
are they, hold on, let me finish this. Nor are they all children, because they are what? The seed of Abraham. I mean, the man said, no, it's because they are the seed of Abraham. That is what makes them of children. What? We literally just read, nor are they all children of Israel, because they are the seed of Abraham. But in Isaac, your seed shall be called. That is, those who are the children of the flesh, children by ethnicity. These are not, again, how much more clearer can the man get?
It's just crystal clear to me.
It is those who are the children of the flesh. These are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted as seed. The promise is what makes you a child of God. For this is the word of the promise. If you accept him as your Lord and Savior, Christ, that is how you receive the promise.
That's what I was saying, like, bro, You ain't got to find no scripts. You ain't got to do all that, man. Just say the thing. Just say the word, man. Just believe on him. Just declare Christ your Lord and Savior. And this conversation is over with, bro.
My God, today.
I didn't even get to my. I just want to know, man. Like I kind of got lost because I don't even know what point he was trying to make anymore. I just stopped listening. But yeah, he started off by saying the first Christians were black, right? That's what he was trying to prove.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
yeah. I stopped listening after about 2 minutes. This is like,
What's going on, Aaron? Good to see you. You there this time, sir? Aaron, are you there? Mhm.
For some reason, I can't hear Keisha. I can hear Chuck though.
Okay, yeah, you're like muffly too. Let me see.
I can clearly hear Chuck, but I can't hear you.
yeah, Keisha can hear you, but
I
you
can
can't
hear
hear her.
you.
And it's pointless. And I'm not the brains of this operation, so I can't tell you how to fix it.
I mean, well, Aaron, he does this too, so yeah, he'll figure it out. Aaron, I'm gonna drop you
Is she
and
telling me to do something, Chuck? Is she like telling me
yeah,
to?
tell him to drop and come back.
She said drop and come back, or she's gonna drop you and just gonna run it back. See if we can do it again.
Listen, TT, we're done. We are done, sir. You need to go and study and read. I don't want to hear anything else you have to say tonight. Now you done took me to work my nerves.
I think yeah, I'm not trying to be funny. It is obvious that, and I mean this genuinely and sincerely. Well, when one of my closest friends, I love him like a brother. I wouldn't say his name, but I'll keep that private. But he has a very severe speech impediment. He
Mhm.
stutters badly. And one of my closest friends, I've known him for about 20 years. And I do understand that there are certain learning impediments there. So I don't know exactly what TT has to go through, or whatever sort of methods or supplemental tools he has to use. Maybe he doesn't. I'm not sure because I'm not a cognitive scientist, so I don't really know how his speech impediment affects his learning. But it's clear to me that I don't know, maybe he's going off of what others have told him, maybe what he's memorized. But I can clearly see that there are probably some challenges there for him in terms of
Yeah.
reading out things, reading things in their full context. So I don't know, but he really needs to just slow down and I don't know, go back to the drawing board, bro, because this ain't it. This ain't it for you. And I just want to know, why is this so important? Why do the first Christians have to be black? I just want to know. I just want to know what that means. Like what that means for me.
Yeah, like
What's
what
my
is it?
takeaway? What do I take away? Where do I go? Where do I go from there? What do I do with that information? I just want to know that. But TT, you ruined your chances, man. I wanted to ask you that. I genuinely did, but I think my girl Keisha done with you, man. So I can't ask you what I wanted to ask you, but it's cool.
Yeah, I can't like look, it's been a rough week and it's only Wednesday, okay? But Aaron, if you can hear me, go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. What's going on, fam? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. How you been doing? How y'all doing?
We're doing good. Doing good.
Okay.
I ain't seen you in a while. You been thinking on some things we said? You changed your mind?
Probably not. Nothing really changed my mind on.
Excuse me then. All right, so what you got for us tonight then?
Um.
If you
So
can speak up a little bit louder too. I'm having a little trouble and the chat's having a little trouble hearing
yeah, let me
you.
see if I can fix that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. The question I had was for Chuck when he was making the claim that black people are the problem in regards to crime. Can you specify what you mean by black people are the problem?
They commit the most violent crimes. What's so complicated about that?
So you're
I'm
saying
not
as
trying to be smart. I just want to know like what you looking for.
no, it's not about complication. I'm asking for specifically are when you say black people are the problem,
Yes,
you're
violent
speaking
crime. Yes.
you're speaking about the group or you're speaking about specifically criminals. Because I would assume like you
Uh,
consider yourself a black person, right?
so well, yeah.
Okay. So you don't commit crimes, right?
Nah.
Okay. So you're referring to specifically criminals.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Um so you're saying that there's a problem
Yeah,
with
yes, the black race, the black community has a crime problem. And I'm not jumping through and I don't say this to be rude, but I'm not jumping through all sorts of rhetorical hoops to try to feign political correctness or to continue to be accepted in polite society. If the shoe was on the other foot, certain claims are perfectly acceptable amongst your more radical types. And so that's why I took their logic and turned it against them. You're talking about black culture, the black community, the black collective. The reality is that the majority of violent criminals stems from that one particular racial group. And whether or not it impugns my character or my reputation, is something that I have no control over. And I don't fret over it and I don't concern myself with it. I just go on living my life. But areas that are preeminently populated and densely populated with blacks have an exponentially higher crime rate. That's just a fact.
okay. Okay, I think I'm understanding what you're saying. So
Yeah.
you're basically saying that the black community has a violent crime problem.
Yes.
That's a different claim than black people are the problem. So
They are the
um
problem when it comes to violent crime. That's why I specified. And they are their own worst enemies. They are their own problem.
okay. So can you tell me what you think explains that disparity?
But explain to how that disparity, a corruption of values.
A
Simple.
Wait,
corrupt
I'm sorry. Quick question. Aaron, did you hear Chuck when he went through the list of
Yeah, he was in
those?
the chat. He was in
Oh,
the
okay,
comment section, I believe.
okay, gotcha.
yeah, I was listening to what he was going through. So you're saying that an erosion of values.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean that's the cut straight to. We talk about how, why, and whatnot. But yeah, it's because of the way they behave, and
Okay.
there are certain incentive structures that give them um, uh, information in terms of feedback. That's a huge part of what culture does for a group. But yeah, it's the way they behave, and you got to ask, well, why do they behave this way? And they're two competing theories. If you want to break it up into a polemic, one blames society or systems, and others blame individual actors.
Okay.
And so, I mean, you
What-
can try to deal in the gray, and that's fair to deal in the gray. But for the most part, we concern ourselves with the things that we actually have control over, and we certainly have control over our own behavior. So,
Okay. So would you say that a part of that erosion of values is
fatherlessness, yeah,
fatherlessness, glorification of violence, gang culture, those sorts of things?
yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. Um, and you would obviously agree that historically, this, although there's obviously accountability from within the community, that there were outside forces that were involved in um, some of these things.
Like what outside forces?
And just a quick question. What time period are we talking? Because we were talking about currently.
What do you mean you were talking about currently?
We were talking about when he was going over when we were talking about the crime. We were talking about crime that's happening now. So the woman the clip that I played, she was talking about current situations, and so Chuck came in, he was talking about, more so current situation. I think the furthest back he went is like 1995. So we're looking at the modern era we're talking about right now, just to put that context in there.
I mean, we can talk about the modern era. I don't think what I'm saying is not modern. Certainly modern. We're talking about gang culture. It's not like something that's existed for. So when we're talking about gang culture, that's something that's modern, right?
Oh yeah, I thought you said that these were happening from what happened in the past.
Well, I thought we were talking about the cause of something. I was trying to get at like the root cause of these things. So like obviously cause of something, it happened in the past. Like, would you agree like culture doesn't exist in a vacuum? Like cultures are shaped by incentives and community values and institutions and economics and all these different things.
Well, I don't want to derail y'all's conversation. I was just putting that context in there, so y'all can. I don't want to change the, where you were going with that. Just wanted to, because we were talking about the current.
I would ask him, does he agree with that particular? Do you agree that there were outside forces involved?
No, I don't know. Like, be more specific. I just can't accept that. That's a very broad, bland assertion. You have to be more specific. For me, I can't answer that question. So if you force me to answer just on the basis of what you said, I'll say no. But if you were to get more specific, maybe I can give a more detailed response.
Okay. The crack epidemic. Could talk about.
No.
Okay,
as far as crime is, you talk about the crack era, but of course, crime rates. We saw a dramatic increase in crime, particularly in urban environments, in areas where where blacks were largely concentrated, in these northern urban cities across the Midwest, even out west, places like California. Once upon a time, Compton was a very highly sought after, predominantly black neighborhood that was relatively safe until circa 1965, after the Watts riots and so on and so forth. And so crime began to skyrocket during the civil rights movement or shortly thereafter. This was a decade, at least a decade and a half before the 1980s. Before there was crack cocaine, of course, there was heroin. Of course, we've all heard of notorious drug dealers, the likes of, Nicky Barnes and Frank Lucas. There was another prominent black drug kingpin by the name of Frank Matthews, I believe was his name. It was rumored, and legend has it, that he was so powerful that even the Italian mafia would not touch him. He was such a larger than life figure. He was given the street moniker of Black Caesar. And it's interesting because he kind of went down as kind of like a street legend above all other street legends, because it seems as though he just disappeared and no one really knows the fate of Frank Matthews. Some say he, I don't know, left the country, changed his identity and did something, but he was never captured, never brought to justice for all the crimes that he had committed. And so Frank Matthews was a name in the streets as far back as the 1960s, maybe the 1950s, and before him there was Bumpy Johnson. There was, this, the crack era. No, what crack did, you had a people whose moral compass was already broken, and so they were susceptible to this underground economy. No one forced these individuals to do anything. And the interesting part about it is, when it comes to the selling of crack cocaine, and I sorry for the long-winded answer, I'm gonna end it right here. I'll just use an anecdotal story that was told, that was communicated by Freeway Rick Ross himself. Said that one of the things that when he was dealing cocaine on the streets, that he never carried a weapon, he never carried a gun, because he never felt the need to carry a gun, because he never felt like his life was in any real danger. You see, when people look at the sentence, and you didn't bring this up, but I'm going to bring this up as an aside, because this is a common refrain and talking point that you hear bandied about by people who like to point to the so-called crack era, is they look at the disparity in sentencing for soft cocaine versus hard crack. The reason why the sentences were harsher for those dealing in who were dealing in hard crack is because along with the selling of hard crack cocaine came an abundant increase in the amounts of violent crime. And so there was all of this money being thrown around, and there was more than enough money for these drug dealers to have whatever it is that they wanted without resulting to violence, but they couldn't do that. And so the issue is not the drugs, the issue is their propensity to violence. You notice how the Italian mafia, this is the reason why Lucky Luciano and
So
Joe
I'm sorry,
Bonanno,
you said propensity to violence.
those
What do you mean by
yeah,
that?
those who organized the hit on Joe the Boss and the other, because the one thing you start talking about gangland history, I know that as well, like the back of my hand. And part of the reason why Arnold Rothstein and Lucky Luciano came up with this concept called the commission was so that they can clean up the violence on the streets to keep the prying eyes of the taxpayers away from them because they knew that they could better operate their clandestine enterprises if they kept the public eye out of their business. And one of the ways you do that is you keep the bodies off the street and we only deal with one another and we leave those who are outside the business relatively safe and sound. Because no matter how much money we have, our pockets are not deeper than that of the taxpayers. Because if we start creating situations where now they have to bear the cost because we began to disrupt their lives. They then began putting pressure on their politicians to then come after us because they now no longer feel safe. This is what happened in the 1980s with the increase in harsher sentences because blacks within these communities were putting political pressure upon their constituents to increase the penalties for these violent offenders that were in their own neighborhoods. The issue was not the drugs, the issue was the violence. The Italian mafia understood this, blacks did not understand this. This is why everything sort of transpired the way it did throughout the 20th century with respect to crime. The black
Fascinating.
community already had the black community already had a crime problem.
Yeah. So this is where so it's very interesting you're making this point. Because the I don't think that that it logically follows that um because black dealers became more violent, black people have a propensity to violence. So I'm asking, what's your argument that without citing, let me ask you a question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, I'm
So
sorry.
without you actually citing the crime stats, because we both agree that crime in um, increases for all communities in a period of time. What is your actual argument outside of the crime stats that black people had a propensity to violence?
Well, the only thing I'm looking at is outcome based statistics. Now, to me, it seems as though you're asking a question about the why because perhaps you were a bit put off or concerned with my usage of the word propensity. Is that what we're talking about? Are we trying to get into the why, or are we just getting
No,
into the what?
I'm talking about the conclusion you're drawing. So you're drawing based on anecdotes, like
No, it's not
you're
anecdotal.
mentioning.
It's not anecdotal at all. You can look if
I'm
you
talking
don't
about
want
the
you.
example. You're not letting me finish the
Okay,
actual point. So you don't know when I say anecdotal, what am I talking about? You want to let me
okay,
finish. So I'm
go
talking
ahead.
about the examples you gave were in fact, and so when you mentioned Freeway Rick Ross, is that an anecdote?
Yeah, and I acknowledge that
Okay,
that
so
was his own
that's what I'm saying.
anecdotal
I'm saying you
story.
can't take that anecdote and extrapolate from that.
But I
There's a
didn't do that. I
propensity
didn't do
to
that.
violence.
I was no, no, no. Hold on. Let me back up. I used Freeway Rick Ross because you mentioned crack cocaine as an external force that somehow had a deleterious effect on the so-called black community. And I pointed specifically to one of the most prominent black drug traffickers in the world, in the world. And I use the example of his own personal experience in order to give a narrative to the question that you asked me. You asked me that question. That's why
Yeah,
I
but
brought up
you
Rick
compared
Ross.
that
Hold
you
on.
contrasted that with Italian with the Italian
I can
mafia though, right?
also I can also use. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last question. I was talking over
I
you,
said
but
I said
I
you contrast
also
that with the Italian mafia. Did you not?
no again because I'm making the drawing the connection between violence and how the wider public reacts when the veil of civility begins to break down, when it begins to tear. That's the comparison that I was making, and why
The veil of civility. What is that?
certain criminals or criminal organizations had the wherewithal to know that crime or violence, should I say, is not good for business.
Okay,
Black
Chuck. We
organized
talk.
crime. Hold on. Black
I'm
organized
not
crime
following you. I'm trying to ask you a question,
has
brother. I'm not
never,
trying to
has
interrupt.
never, I know, I understand. Okay, hold your thought. Black criminal organizations, by and large, have never understood this to the same extent that other criminal organizations have. Now, we can get into the why of what that is or why that occurs, but I am trying, what the point that I am stressing to you, and you, of course, you're free to disagree, because you brought up the crack era. I make the claim that crime was a problem before the crack era. When crack was introduced, it only exacerbated a pre-existing problem.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but I'm looking for the argument. So let me try to walk. Let me try to still be in the position, and then you tell me if I got it wrong because I don't hear an argument. I understand the point you're making, but there's no argument for the original claim. Here's the original claim. Black people have a propensity to violence. That's the original claim. My challenge to that is what's your evidence for the propensity besides crime statistics? And
What else do I need?
you're talking about
What else do I need?
what do you mean what else
Are
do you
they,
need?
what do I need besides? You said that my only justification or fact that I can bring to substantiate my claim is crime statistics. What else do I need? I can give you more, but what else do I need if you don't like
Okay.
stats?
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're clear. You're basically saying all you need is crime stats. So if you can show crime stats means a propensity to violence, correct?
No, I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong with the way
Okay,
I
okay,
structured it
so what in the crime stats show a propensity to violence? Can you show me how
because
those show?
blacks commit over half of our country's murders, and not just
Okay,
blacks,
what
but
does that
black
have to do with
males between
propensity
the
for violence?
ages of 15 and 35 because they are the most likely. Do you know? I'm not trying to be wise with you, Aaron, because I genuinely like you. What do you know what the word propensity means? I have to ask you this because it's a very weird question that you keep asking me. The reason why I use the word propensity is because they are the most represented when you look at the stats. That's all.
Okay, so let's try to break this down to like a formal syllogism here, because I don't think you're I think you think I'm not tracking. I'm actually tracking quite well. Black people commit violent crimes at higher rates. Therefore, black people have a propensity towards violence.
Yes,
Can you show me how the statistics themselves establish propensity to violence
because they are.
rather than describing the behavior? Do you see that the stats don't show propensity to violence? It just describes behavior.
So
So when
I'll
you say
just add,
propensity
I'm sorry,
to
I'll just
violence,
add the definition really
you
quick.
have to establish that with an argument, not
No,
with the
no, no,
stats.
no,
Go
no,
ahead.
no. I'm gonna ask you a question. Are
But
you asking?
hold on. I just want to add the definition. So this is Merriam-Webster. It says propensity is an often intense natural inclination or preference. Did I say natural? Okay, an often intense natural inclination or preference.
Natural inclination, beautiful. Yeah. So how do the stats show any of that? Because he's saying, well, I can just look at the stats, and I'm asking where in the stats does it establish a propensity rather than just describing what the behavior is? That's what I'm saying. He's drawing a conclusion on the stats and saying the stats are my conclusion, which is a circular argument. I'm asking for what is
No.
the argument for the propensity of violence that you says exists in the black community. What's
Okay,
the
so
argument
it
for that?
goes back. Okay, now I asked you this moments ago, and all you had to do was acknowledge it, and then we could have moved the conversation in that direction. Because I asked you if you want to talk, if you have an issue with the why, which is why you brought up external factors. See, the thing that I think may have triggered you when Keisha read that definition is the word natural. Do you
I'm
have an
not.
issue with the word natural?
No, I don't have an issue with the word natural. I
Well,
have an
what
issue.
do you have? Okay. No, what do you have an issue with if it's not the word natural?
Well,
Because
I have.
it would appear to me, maybe I'm wrong, that you may be assuming that I am implying that there is some sort of biological or natural inclination to deviancy. And I'm not making that claim. See, if we don't like the dictionary term that Keisha just used, I will amend the sentence, and instead of using the word propensity, let's just use the word disproportionate. To use two words: the disproportionate likelihood, far more likely. What other synonyms for the word propensity would do you prefer? We can substitute it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't want to get bogged down on the semantics.
Yeah.
What it is what I'm looking at. Now, if you want to address the what, then that's a totally separate question. The reality, such as it is, or as it currently stands, should I say, is that blacks commit a disproportionate percentage of violent crimes. Now, you don't have to like the word propensity, but those are the facts. Now, are you disputing these facts? Because
No.
I'll submit the word propensity. You can take it. Okay. My bad, y'all. I shouldn't have used the word propensity because it kind of intimates this idea that blacks are just naturally deviant. There's nothing natural about it, in fact.
Mhm. Yeah, I know you said cultural erosion. That's what I was trying to get at.
So why are we being bogged down on the semantics with this word propensity? Throw the word propensity out. Let's move on. What are we talking about now?
I wasn't bogged down, brother. I was just trying to, be
Okay,
consistent.
what are you trying to say? What are you trying to ask me, dog?
So let's go back to your original claim, right? Your original claim was that the black community has a problem, even though you don't even agree. You're basically making sort of a polemic because you don't even agree that there's a black community, right? Like you don't believe in the collective consciousness. You don't believe in any of that. So this is
No,
more.
no, no, no. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I
Yeah,
said that
but
Okay,
I'm
the
just
fact,
curious. So what
that
what
might
was
be teacher
Aaron's
then.
point? Like what was your point that you were trying to bring up? I missed that.
I'm dealing with his original claim about the quote unquote black community. That it was my assumption. I might be wrong here. That I didn't know that you believe in a collective black consciousness. I thought that was
no,
something that you would
no,
preach
no,
against.
no, 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 no. Me and Keisha never said we didn't believe in it. The fact that we're doing these live streams that we're doing is evidence of the fact that we do believe that it is a thing, which is why we're addressing it because it shouldn't be a thing.
It shouldn't be a thing that from a theological perspective, though, right?
From a theological perspective,
I said theological. Like you're like
theological perspective. Oh yeah,
yeah.
I thought you used the term teleological,
Oh no,
which is
no.
another question. But yeah, theologically speaking, I think theologically speaking, absolutely not. It shouldn't be.
Okay. Okay. So when you are addressing stats, right, and then you say the black community has a propensity of violence, even though I know you say you're abandoning that now, so I won't use that argument anymore. I'm understanding that as you're no longer you're no longer in the realm of polemics. You're making an actual formal argument from, even though you don't necessarily agree that there is a community. So I'm trying to understand on what grounds are you making that argument.
Okay, let's go back to the top of it. I don't know if you were in it during how long you've been watching. Okay, and Keisha and I don't want to get sidetracked and start talking about this woman. But we were talking about this woman who was on social media. She was making these claims and going on and on. You know, her little freestyle, spoken word, whatever soliloquy, and she's going on and on. She's talking about all the crimes that white people are committing and all the harm that white people are doing to blacks. Well, I pushed back on that narrative by giving examples because what folks like to do is like they take these little isolated incidents and they try to use them as political cutouts for their own agendas and so on. And so I pointed out some incidents that have occurred over the last dozen or so years that someone in her position is probably not familiar with. But more importantly, you do not see a similar reaction amongst whites when it comes to these kinds of issues of, whites being victimized by black criminals. And it happens far more often than we are willing to acknowledge, because to do so would be, tantamount to, I mean, it's just something that most folks don't say in polite company because it is improper, impolite, and politically incorrect. And so I started out, I brought forth the statistics from the National Victimization Survey, which claims that the majority, overwhelming, as a matter of fact, the word overwhelming isn't strong enough to describe it. The overwhelming majority of interracial violence is black on white violence. And so the narrative that many blacks have that they are got to look over their shoulder all day every day because they're afraid of white people is just ridiculous. It's not true. And no one who is of sound mind believes that for a second. That's why I started out even talking about that in the first place. This is why I said that it's not so much about, the black, what it, that we could break down the definition of the word community and what it means to be black and this, that, and the third. That wasn't the context of the discussion. The context of the discussion in this particular live stream was interracial violence. And as a community, or in other words, the black race in the United States are responsible for the majority of the country's violent crime while only making up 13% of its population. I'm not getting into trying to break down and philosophize about what the word, we can do that, but that's not what we were talking about. We can philosophize about the meaning of the word black, what it actually means to be a community. Is it your neighbor? Is it a black person? Or Aaron, are you and I in the same community? Even though I don't even know where you live, I don't know what you do, I don't know what you're interested in, I don't know if our interests align with one another. I don't know anything, and on a deep level, I know we have some general basic interests. We have a basic interest in life. We both want to live. We both want to take care of our families and our children. We probably both genuinely care about our country and all those things. And so there are some broader things we probably agree on. When you get down to the minutia, I don't know if there's much that you and I have in common. And so where exactly does this arbitrary line we draw around certain collectives that we call a community? That's another question. But when comparing whites in crime and blacks in crime, there is no comparison. Blacks commit an overwhelming majority of the nation's crime. Why this is so complicated is I don't understand that.
Yeah, so I don't think so again, in all of that, we can agree with we can agree with each other much of what you just said until you get the conclusion part. So
Until I
even
get to the what part? My bad. Aaron, your audio kind of breaking up a little bit, so like I'm getting every other word. So can you say it one more time?
I got you. I probably need to go get my headphones. They'll probably make it much better for y'all.
Well, thank you. 20 minutes later.
My
Yeah.
fault. Let me how about this? Let me go grab my headphones so that I don't want your audience to be suffering. I actually want to respond to what you're saying because I do disagree with your conclusion. So let me go grab my headphones. Take me about 1 minute. All right.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Bottom line, you came just for Chuck, didn't you?
Not really.
What's going
But
on?
I don't know if you guys want to finish off with Aaron.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious. What are you here to discuss? I can't
Well, I
remember. Are
think
you
you
a
guys
Christian? I can't remember.
Yes.
And you think that you can be black and a Christian? You can believe in the black political class, the black ideology, and be a Christian.
Well, I'm not sure if I could believe in the entirety of the ideology. If it's just about making Black people better or do better, I'm all for that.
Well, you
If there's
can't
anything,
make anybody else do anything. So how are you going to do that? Like you can't make anybody else do anything.
well, as far as I know, Black ideology is just about the betterment of Black people, and I'm all for that.
No, that's not what black ideology is.
I mean, if you have a different definition or something that's negative, let me know.
Not necessarily. It is. It's a political class. Blackness is a political identity. It is a political oppressed class.
Well, I don't think it's oppressed, but I think it's paying attention to that oppression happens. For
That's what
example, if I have a
I'm telling you what Blackness is, though. Like that's how it came to be. It's a man-made political race identity. That's what it is.
okay, so then pro-black is just being vigilant, and it's just being cautious. It's not about being a victim. You're
Hey,
just being vigilant about your surroundings.
As a
bottom
Christian.
line,
Oh, go
can I
ahead.
ask you a specific question? Bottom line, you said something about improving blacks, something about improving blacks, right? You support that agenda, right?
Yes.
Right. Or something like that. Okay, I got two questions for you. What does that entail? And when I mean that, what I mean by that is what kind of mechanisms, what do you mean when you say that is basically what I'm trying to say. And secondly, more importantly, you said that oppression happens. And oppression does happen all over the world to different people at different times. But oppression, this is my claim, oppression is not the only reason why certain groups on average amass certain outcomes. And so I would like for you to instruct me on what particular social, political, or economic shortcomings that blacks suffer from that are the direct result of some kind of oppression.
Oh, so you had two questions, right?
Yeah. The first one is just overall improvement in general. If you had your way about it, what would be the first thing that would happen to bring about some desired end?
To improve black people's lives, you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Definitely education. I would
Education.
definitely encourage
Okay.
people to educate themselves, go to a library. I would cut out certain kinds of music. I think they're not necessary. Um, critical thinking for the most part. Critical thinking for the most part. I think that definitely fathers would be needed in the household. I think that's probably like the number one thing I would fix immediately.
Okay. Okay. You said education, so that means, like you said, spend more time in the library, spend more time in your studies. You didn't say that in particular, but I'm gonna throw that in there because I'm sure you would agree with that. Because going to the library, I mean, that's you're studying, you're reading. Because there are all sorts of statistics at our disposal that inform us on the average amount of time a black student spends on their homework versus how much a white or an Asian student spends on their homework. Black students, black kids spend far less time on their homework according to the statistical data. So you said spend more time studying. You said stop listening to music that is self-destructive, and you kind of put the cherry on top in a sense. You talked about, I think you mentioned bringing I think you said something about fathers or something about the home and the household. Did you say something about fathers raising or fathers being in the home? Was that the last thing
Yes,
you
like
said?
traditional family, if you want to go
The
with that.
traditional, yeah, the traditional family. Okay. I mean, those are all good things. Obviously, I agree with that. And so what would incentivize a person to do these things? What would make a person want to do these things?
Incentivize them. I mean,
Yeah.
I
What
would
kind of
say
enticements?
I would definitely say like the failure of your own community should be enough. Just like seeing any sort of degeneracy, at least
Right.
for me, would be the motivation. Like I just don't want to see myself living like that. I don't want to
Right.
see my family living like that. So I would definitely say, hey, like we need to do this according to these traditional family values to move forward.
Okay. And let me ask you this. Now, as far as oppression and the role oppression plays, let's say oppression in what sense? Like oppression by whom? Oppression by what sort of mechanism? Are we talking about current oppression? Are we talking about past oppression? Who's doing the oppressing and for what purpose? And what effects does this these oppressive acts, what effects have they had, if any? And how does that, if at all, conflict with everything that you just laid out? For example, a person would say all of the things that you just named, bottom line, are things that people could do on their own. So
Mhm.
oppression has nothing to do with that, right? I'm just saying that someone might say that to you.
Okay.
And your response would be what?
So you want me to answer the oppression question first, or?
Yeah, the oppression question, and why this current state of affairs? Because if we need to educate ourselves, spend more time studying, we need to become more honorable by raising our children, marrying the women that bear our children, start to eschew degenerate culture and all these things. And so my mind says, okay, at some point we began to trend in the opposite direction, because if we need to do more of those things, why are we doing less of those things? Why are we doing that?
Well, to answer your first question about the oppression and where it's coming from, you know, to
Mhm.
me, being pro-Black is just being vigilant. We're just watchful that danger is out there. You don't wait for danger to show up. You're always watchful. You're always locking your door, even if you've never been robbed. So a great analogy is like this. Let's say I have heart disease in my family, a history of heart disease. Am I being a victim by going to the doctor, or am I being vigilant? Even if I don't have heart disease, I'm being vigilant because I know this runs in my family. I know there's a history behind it, and I want to live as long as possible. When it comes to racism, inequality, and all of the oppression that Black people have faced, there is a history. The reason we may not see a lot of it today is because we've been vigilant. We've been going to the doctor. We've been keeping these things at bay. The moment we see a symptom, we address it immediately, right? Another example is like COVID. Even though the pandemic is over, our mindsets about washing our hands before we eat or enter a home, it stayed with us because we want to be vigilant against disease. So pro-Blackness is being vigilant against the oppression, even if it doesn't exist. But the reason we don't see it is because we've been vigilant.
Okay, so what when you say vigilant, I'm not, again, I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm not trying to be funny, but I really want to understand this, because I want you to think through. I want you to think this stuff through out loud. So when you say be, what does that mean? Be vigilant. What does that look like? What does that entail? If
Oh,
me or you or Keisha, if we woke up tomorrow with this idea that I need to be vigilant, if I put that on my mind, how do I act that out in real time in the real world? What does that mean?
I'll give you a few examples. So
All
my number one example of being pro-Black or being vigilant is being pro-freedom, being pro-health, being pro-equal rights, being pro-humanity, being pro anything that was historically denied Black people. We need to make sure we protect. And a lot of these things, our freedom, our equal rights, they were historically denied us by Christians. So if it's okay, Chuck, I'd like to give you a few examples of what I mean by, for example, being pro-health.
You could go. Okay, yeah. I've got to say, you go ahead, but do your thing. But I just want to know, like right now, you're still giving me, bland like platitudes, and you're coming with ideas, all great things, freedom and all the very lofty ideals. But you're not telling me anything specific. So I think you were about to do that. So go ahead, give it a shot.
Yeah, so I just want to give you an example. The reason why I reached back into the past is to show a pattern. That's how we do everything. We want to show a pattern of oppression. So obviously during slavery, for example, there was a doctor, I think his name was J. Marion Simmons. He's the father of gynecology. And he would experiment with on enslaved women without using any anesthetics. And today, Black women are the number one group to suffer from infertility. We had the Tuskegee experiment, I think that lasted for about 40 years, where they experimented on about 600 Black men and let them suffer with syphilis just to see how the disease would progress, even though they had the treatment. Today, Black men are the number one group with the shortest lifespan. And here's the thing that I really want you to hear, Chuck.
Okay.
So there was this guy, his name was F.L. Hoffman. He wrote a book called race traits and tendencies of the American Negro in 1896. And his argument was, we need to deny Black people health care because they will eventually go extinct. So they played this game with our health because they thought we would just naturally die off because we were naturally inferior, naturally prone to disease. So they played with our health with these situations. And today, Black people are number one with heart disease,
What year?
diabetes.
I'm not gonna get what year was that book published again, or that essay?
It was published in 1896.
Okay, yeah. I thought that's what you said. Go ahead, finish up because I want to respond.
And I just want to give this history about how they played with our health, that we were seen as biologically inferior, that we were guinea pigs to them. And we see the results today, right?
Okay.
We see this health issue in the Black community, number one in heart disease, number one in diabetes, number one in homelessness.
You're right. I get that. I get that. So I'm confused. Okay, you brought up a man who was writing in the late 19th century when the eugenics craze was all the rage amongst the intelligentsia. And it wasn't just Blacks that they categorized in this way. They categorized all people in this way. And sure, they may have thought that perhaps Blacks were the lowest on the evolutionary totem pole, but this was the common belief amongst the people of that time based upon the so-called scientific evidence that they had at their disposal. But those beliefs in racial or biological determinism have long been debunked by every serious scientist, scholar, or doctor worth their salt. So you're confusing me because you brought him up and you said that we should deny them medical care because if we leave them to their own devices, they'll eventually go extinct, which shows me that he felt the need to write this because there were other experts at the time who disagreed with him, which is why he wrote it. Because yes, this is a thing that scientists, doctors, scholars, these are stuff that they do. They debate amongst each other. It's interesting you talk about medicine and the history of medicine in the United States, because I forgot which president it was in particular. Dang, I wish I forgot off the top of my head. But I'm trying to remember the precise year when the smallpox vaccine was discovered. This was the country's first ever federally mandated vaccination program, and whites went above and beyond to make sure that Native Americans were vaccinated even before the whites were vaccinated. And so there have been the benefits to the increase and understanding in the evolution of medicine and sanitation and all the things that has led to an overall increase in life expectancy for all human beings across the West, regardless of race, just speaks to the benefit of the evolution of Western medicine, to which we have all benefited. You brought up this Tuskegee experiment and other such things. There were all kinds of experiments done on different groups of people, Blacks, whites. You have the experiments that were carried out against the Alcatraz inmates back in the day. I mean, this stuff has went on. We could make the argument that these were terrible things that we don't like, but these things went on. So I don't get the connection that you make between life expectancy and the medical profession, because medical services and medical care is a totally separate phenomenon than quote unquote health care, because health care is largely one's own responsibility. Do lifestyle choices, dietary choices, do all these things have any effect whatsoever on a person's lifespan? The number one preventable form of, you talk about the homicide rate amongst Black men here in the United States, that is drastically dragging down the lifespan of Blacks in this country, just as a result, to go back to the conversation I was having with Aaron about their violent behavior. So when you use lifespan averages, that doesn't tell me enough about what real people are doing in the real world and the corresponding choices that they're making.
So I can respond here?
Sure.
So
Okay,
here,
I'm sorry. So we're gonna have to. I got Aaron. He's back, and I want to get him up. Bottom line, if you could just wrap up your thoughts on this. If you could include in what you're about to say, just what is the thing that you think that Black people need to be vigilant about, like, or vigilant? What is like the thing that they need to be on the lookout for that's going to a better question. How
Yeah.
is one person supposed to be doing the looking out for, everybody else?
Because the real quick bottom line before you answer, because your health, your own personal welfare, that's an issue that, I mean, long before you reach a doctor, that those matters are under your control. Those things are in your hands long before you reach a doctor. So if you want to address Keisha's question.
so Keisha's question was just to wrap it up.
Yeah, just wrap it up. But I'm asking, like, in your wrap up, help us understand your how one person can do all these things.
Well, I don't know. You mean me myself, or just for anybody?
You say, look, if you say that everybody got to be looking out and being vigilant and all that, then you certainly would be the place to start, right? So you start.
I mean, that's what I'm asking. If you're asking me to just speak for myself, or are you speaking in general when you say one person?
Well,
I asked him in general, and he used the medical thing as an example, and talked about bioracial determinism and these kinds of things. He used that as an example and said that we need to remain vigilant of the, I don't know, maybe of the evil, untoward actions of the medical profession, because they are specifically targeted. They may be specifically targeting Blacks, as you claim that they did in the past. And so we have to not go to the doctor, or should we go to the doctor, or should we exercise more, change our own dietary habits? What do you mean that by being vigilant with regard to our health?
Yeah,
and how it relates to
great
medicine?
question, Chuck. So, for example, when I say be pro-health, for example, like with the Tuskegee experiment, they experimented on Black men and denied them the truth. So I'm saying, for example, when they would do these experiments, they would lie to Black people. How do we know they're not lying now? How do we know they're not distorting the truth now, playing with our health now? And then I gave the results of what might be those lies. The lifespan of Black men, the infertility of Black women, those could be the result of them still experimenting on us, and we wouldn't know, because they didn't know they were being experimented on during the Tuskegee experiment. It was a whistleblower that told the truth. And
okay, so in due time, do you think that there's something is going to come out to show how the United States government was subsidizing some kind of experiments on Blacks medically, doing something? Do you think that may come out in the future? I mean, I know you can't predict the future, but do you think that's a possibility? I guess anything's possible.
That's exactly why I say just be vigilant, be pro-Black, watchful. I don't want to wait till something bad happens. I want to take control of my destiny myself. I want to take control of my health myself. I want more Black doctors.
Yourself?
Yeah, I want like more Black doctors, more of us in healthcare, that kind of thing.
Wait. But what does that? What someone?
Going to be Jewish and Indian. I don't want no Black doctors.
Wait. So what does you say you got to do this?
You brave man.
You say you got to do this yourself. What does somebody else, what they want to do for themselves? Maybe they don't want to be a doctor. Maybe they don't want to be those things. But it's like you want to sit back and serve out all the prescriptions of how everybody should live their life, while you sit back and judge. Okay, I approve that. I approve this. But it's not their life is not yours. To you, like, why? I guess what I was trying to get to is like this whole being vigilant to. You want the community to be vigilant, but it is individuals who make up the community doing individual things that, that forward the community, because you are advancing it by your own actions in and of yourself and your family. I don't
So,
understand this. Like, I'm gonna
we're
be
no longer
pro-black.
talking general because Chuck was talking general, right? You're talking just individual.
Well, but in your general, you're saying I'm going to do this, but that is the prescription for looking for the collective.
Well, I was speaking in terms of my opinion. Like, I think it's important that we do have more Black people in healthcare so that we can avoid some of these health issues, that we're more likely to avoid these problems being experimented on by having our own people in healthcare.
Wait, okay, so
bottom
then
line,
you
let
are
me
assuming. Hold on, Chuck.
I know,
Because,
Keisha, you got it, because I'm gonna probably ask the same question.
wait, okay, now you are assuming that that now I forgot what I was gonna say. I think I was gonna say you are assuming that people are going to
Mm.
do things according to your personal what was the last thing you said? I can't I lost my train of thought.
So the idea, and this is prevalent amongst people who are of a similar frame of mind. They think that, Black representation. They think that, and bottom line, I may go on to say that this is not what he's saying. But if he was actually really dug deep, or was really kind of comprehending what he was saying, he would understand what he's implying. He's implying that on the basis of their race and on their race alone, any given individual in a position of authority at any given time, whether it be in a doctor's office, whether it be a plumber that shows up on your front door to fix your pipes, whether it be a bank teller, you think that just based on the race of the individual and
That's what I was gonna say.
combined with the fact that you're Black, that they're going to have your best interest at heart. And you'd be, I contend that you would be a fool to believe that.
Well, there's no guarantee there on my side. I just said I feel more assured, more safer. For example, there's no guarantee I won't be robbed.
Okay, you're absolutely right. And see, and bottom line, sorry to cut you off, but see, that's your own personal choice. And not to say that you said it wasn't. So I'm not trying to argue with you on that point. But that's your own personal choice. Race serves as an incentive for cooperation from your perspective. It doesn't work that way for me. I want the most competent doctor. I don't want the blackest doctor.
Same
I
here.
have no fear whatsoever that there is some coordinated government conspiracy in play to lower the lifespan of Blacks in this country. And I do not believe that, once again, I repeat, just because someone is Black, that they have my best interest at heart. That's not true when it comes to politics. It's not true when it comes to business. It's not true when it comes to a multitude of things. Sorry, it just don't work. I just doesn't work like that. And I don't believe, again, that the relatively shorter lifespans have anything to do with some concentrated, protracted effort on behalf of any sort of medical or medical adjacent institution to make sure Black people don't live as long as other races. That is just foolish to me. I don't believe that. I say, man, and I say that politely, bro. I just don't believe that. I know you and I have had our back and forth, trying to be respectful to you tonight, because I don't really have the energy to argue. But I'm just telling you, bro, I don't believe that.
So I think they did a study in
Neither do
2016.
I.
They did a study in 2016 where they believed that Black patients had a higher tolerance to pain, like this false belief that goes back to slavery, that Black people feel less pain. And that therefore in medicine, when they see us as patients, we feel less pain, our pain isn't real. This is why, again, I would prefer a Black doctor, because I know they're not going to think that way. I don't know what anyone else thinks about Black people when they're another race, but I know that
You don't know what somebody else thinks that they the same race. You want to know? I'm sorry.
You guys got to say your piece, man.
No, bottom line, hold on, bro. We've let you talk. We've not been rude or cut you off. I mean, when you have a dialogue, sometimes we start talking over each other. That's natural, but we've been respectful. Hold on. Now, let me ask you: are any of any doctors or specialists that you currently see I'm not going to ask you to divulge any of your HIPAA information, but are there any black doctors in your orbit that you go see?
No,
Now, I didn't. Hold on, keep it going in. He know.
no, but
Bottom line, no. Bottom line is a
I
smart
am
man.
doing so.
He knows where I'm going. I mean, have you put forth the effort to actively seek out black physicians?
No, not actively, but I'm looking for a doctor. I look at their credentials. But however, that doesn't mean I don't want more black doctors in healthcare.
But see, what I'm asking. Okay, so no, you've already explained why you think that is ideal. So I guess I won't ask you to repeat that because you have some fear of other races being involved in the medical profession because of past and relatively present acts that you believe are untoward. So that's your position. That's your position. I'm not looking for a black doctor. I am looking for the most competent doctor. It just so happens that, there are a certain group of people who are predominant within the medical profession. And I just simply let the chips fall where they may because when it comes to my health, I'm not willing to put race loyalty or some silly racial solidarity ideology on the line when I have to pay the cost with my own life. I'm not going to do that.
Can I ask you something? If you have a daughter, she's going to the hospital for a regular checkup. Do you feel more comfortable with her being with a woman doctor or a male doctor?
I would feel more comfortable with her being.
Which one would you choose if you only have two when they have the same credentials? Both doctors have the same
Race
credentials.
and gender. Race is a social construct. Sex is God-given. It's not the same thing.
No.
It is
But
not the
I
same
really
thing.
want Chuck to answer. Like, Chuck, which one do you feel more comfortable with?
I'm going to answer because my kids have had their primary care doctor for the longest time was a woman, and I never had an issue with it. I never even thought about it, never questioned it. I'm not like my own personal care physician, my immediate doctor that I go to if I got a little pain, an ache here or there. She's a woman. I've been referred to other specialists when I've had other issues, and they've been men or whatever the case may be. But it's something that I've never really given much thought to. But if you force me to ask the question, I would be more comfortable with a male only because of the lowering of academic standards to bring about more statistical parity, racial and gender parity. And this is the complex, the industrial complex, the civil rights industrial complex that we created in the 1960s. So if you force me to answer, I'll say I feel more comfortable with a man. But it's something that I've never thought about before. I just haven't thought about it. But I don't
But
actively
historically,
seek out
you only have a woman doctor.
I mean, it just so
It's
happens.
happened that way, but your kids only see a woman doctor.
No. I don't consciously say you have to go see a female. That's not
But
what
that's
I
all
do.
you've had.
Hmm? Yeah,
But
it's just a coincidence. But I didn't
sure.
actively seek out female doctors. No,
But
I
I would
didn't
understand
actively
if,
seek out primary care doctors that were women. No, I didn't.
but I would understand if a woman did say she felt more comfortable with the female doctor because a female doctor might understand her more. She might feel more comfortable speaking with her, especially if the doctors have the same credentials. I would be okay with that preference.
Okay. No. Okay, I see what you're getting because you did say daughters. I was speaking about my children more broadly. 'Cause I have 3 daughters and 1 son. Okay, so yes, when it comes to yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've heard women say this time and time again, especially when it comes to gynecologists and so on. They do feel more comfortable with a female doctor, many of them. But every individual has to make their own individual choices based upon their own subjective conception of how they tabulate value. And so for a woman, she's operating on the basis of a totally separate set of incentives, comfortability, intimacy, privacy, and all these various things. The male doctor may be a better doctor objectively, but that flies out of the window when it comes to the woman's own interpretation of that particular doctor's subjective value. It's different for every individual. This is why I said minutes ago that not, we don't have to keep going in circles. I'm simply saying that I couldn't care less if there are more Black doctors. Let the Black individuals who aspire to be doctors test themselves to see if they stack up and if they can achieve and succeed at the level that we expect doctors to perform their duties and their tasks. Then so be it, let the chips fall where they may. But I don't believe that there is inherent value in having more diversity amongst our doctors. I don't believe that's true. If
Well,
you
Chuck, let me
believe
say
that's
this.
true, I don't have to pay the cost for your choices.
Well, Chuck, I never said that they should have less credibility as a doctor. I still want the credibility to be there, but I do
Hmm.
want more Black doctors in health, at least to represent the community. Like if we only have 3% of Black doctors and we're 13% of the population, maybe having more doctors in that field would help us. Maybe it'll help us avoid some of this heart disease and diabetes.
I don't see how that helps us. The knowledge is simply the knowledge. The doctor who is paying folks for their services and paying folks for their knowledge. I mean, I may benefit from that person's knowledge if I choose to see them as their patient, but as far as other aspects of their own personal holdings, I don't have any access to that in terms of what it means to be in a so-called community. No, his property in terms of his intellectual property, unless I am paying him for his knowledge as a doctor, belongs to him, and my property, including my human capital, belongs to me. Having more Black doctors doesn't benefit the community in the way in which you think it does, unless you decide to go and see that particular physician.
We won't know it until that happens. But if you're saying if it doesn't hurt us, then what's the problem of having it? What's the
There is
problem
no.
of having more doctors if they're just as qualified?
I didn't say that there was.
All
I
right,
didn't
and
say there was.
so
I just
for
said that.
some
I said
people,
if they can achieve, go back to if they hit the books, go to the library, do all the things that a doctor is supposed to do, then by all means have at it. But I don't believe in, and you didn't say this, so I'm not accusing you of saying this, but I don't believe. But what happens is when you start trying to say what you think is socially or politically ideal, now you start putting ideas into the heads, into the minds of dictators who use power to socially engineer society in a way that they believe above and beyond what is in the individual's best interest, what is just and what is ideal. And I don't support social engineering for the purpose of what is socially ideal. Let the individuals sort themselves out as they see fit. If everyone in America has the freedom to pursue a life or career in medicine, nobody's stopping anybody. But I don't believe that there needs to be certain amount, 13% of doctors commensurate with 13% of the general population. I don't believe that's necessary. And the thing about it is, bottom line, that will never happen. And the reason being is because that has never been true of any society at any time. You've never seen perfect statistical parity in outcome distributions. It's never been true in any societal context. It just won't happen because we have no precedent for it.
but what's wrong with
Choose what
having
they want
it
to
if we
do.
just encourage it? We have these health issues and we want more of us there to help reduce it or solve it.
All right,
How can they use it against us?
I agree with you. Bottom line, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. I'm gonna state my case one more time, and then maybe you and Keisha can take it. I'm gonna state my case one more time. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but I am not in favor of socially engineering society in order to make it so. That's number one. Number two, it will never happen because there's no historical precedence for it, because society doesn't line up in these perfect, the balance sheet is not that way. It never is never going to look that way. Certain groups are predominant in certain fields. There are individuals within those group collectives that can go against the grain and be outliers with respect to the trend. But the reality is that most groups remain within a very specific window when it comes to certain things or when it comes to certain fields. That's just the way human beings are. I don't know why it is. That's just the way it is. That's why we embrace the free market system because it's uncoordinated, unarticulated rationality. It cannot be explained. I don't know what you want. You don't know what I want. It's just that simple. Choose whatever doctor you like and let the chips fall where they may. I don't believe that there is some hidden agenda to make Black people sick or to shorten our lifespans. I just don't believe that's true. Even if I give you all the historicals, I'm not even gonna argue. I'm not even gonna debate that because America has done some wonderful things for minorities in terms of improving our health. But I'm not even going to get off into that. I'll feed that point to you, even though I disagree. I just don't have time.
Well, I'll
But
just ask
now,
this one
in
question.
today's day and age, there is no hidden conspiracy to make Black people sick or to shorten our lifespan. I don't believe that. If there anything in play, I believe that we are all affected as a whole. I'm not saying just go and do whatever and believe everything doctors tell you. You have to make a decision because you have to trade. You have to engage in a trade-off, right? That's your decision. I don't know you. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you got going on. There's no hidden conspiracy to make Black people sick. I don't believe that.
So I'll ask this, Chuck. So you want Black fathers in the home to help the family, right?
Yes, that would
Because
be
the
great.
family is deteriorating,
That would be
right?
great. Hmm.
But you want Black fathers back in the home because of Black family is deteriorating.
Yes, Black fathers being in the home would be
So
great, and married to the mother of their children.
right. So if you can argue that we need Black fathers in the home for the family because the family is at risk, why can't we have Black doctors in the hospital in healthcare because our health is at risk? Why can't we have both? Why is one something we
Because
need, the other something we don't need? Why
let me
Jesus.
is one
let me
necessary but the other thing unnecessary?
Mama, let me explain to you, and then I'm gonna probably move on because it's approaching 11:30. The
Yeah, and
reason being, the
I
reason
still
being,
want
the
to get to
reason being
Aaron. Mm.
is because doctors and fathers are operating on two separate sets of incentive structures.
And
Doctors
responsibility.
and responsibilities. I said the same thing, just in a more economically sounding way, right? But you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. Fathers have a moral responsibility to be there for their children. That's their incentive to get the love and the reinforcement and all the things that come along with fulfilling your duty as a father. Doctors are available to the whole of society and they're for hire. There is very little incentive for a person who is not, as a matter of fact, according to evolutionary theory, if you want to go there, there's actually a disincentive for someone who does not have biological ties to the child to come into that home to raise that child that does not share their DNA. We see that in some mammalian species, when the stronger male takes over the herd or takes over the pride, he kills the children that were not his because he doesn't want to spend his own resources on providing for a child that he did not bring into this world. And so the short of it is that it's not, a doctor is available for you for hire. The same is not true of a father because there's very little incentive for someone who does not have a biological stake in that child to come in and raise that child like a doctor has an incentive to provide you for a service at the point of payment.
Ooh, gracious. Okay, bottom line. We're gonna have to end it there. We'll be back on Friday though, if you want to come up. But thanks for coming up and having a good discussion. Thank you.
I'm
I
sorry.
thought you could see it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming up, man. So I sincerely mean that. And that was a good conversation, bottom line. Thank you.
Yes, I think we have mended the we have mended the contention.
No,
This house is clean.
yeah, I just think, no, because we were talking about something else. Because like all that stuff talking about what the Christians did and all this stuff about Christian slavery. That stuff really, I mean, we haven't seen the last. The bottom line, and we gonna get into it with him again in the future. But at least he come up And we got a lot of people thumb thugging, as y'all like to say in the comment section, who will not come up here and converse. So I at least gotta respect you for that. Every conversation doesn't have to be rah rah rah. But
Seriously.
when it's time for it, we gonna bring the knobs out. We ain't seen the last of it.
A harm's way. I believe I would have made way better choices and decisions had my own father lived his life for my brother and I.
There you go.
It's a godly design. That is why that's why the children suffer so much when the parents aren't together,
Right.
because it's a godly design. Anytime you try to live your life outside of God's way, it ain't gonna go good for you. It's just
So
not gonna be good for you.
let
Aaron,
me
did
just
you oh,
before Aaron chimes in, let me just try to, because I know Aaron could talk, I could talk, you could talk, and it's already 11:30. So let me just restate my position,
mhm.
and then you want to let Aaron chime in, speak his piece, and then whatever, because I gotta go soon. Let me just restate my position and refocus the conversation. When it comes to violent crime, this fool Ryan Taylor in the comment section, I already read some stats earlier from the National Victimization Survey, but let me go to the FBI's own crime statistics. According to the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program, Black individuals account for just over half of murder offenders in the United States in cases where the race of the perpetrator is known. Federal data from the FBI Crime Data Explorer consistently shows that while Black Americans make up approximately 13.6% of the US population, they represent roughly 52 to 55% of known homicide offenders annually. This data applies only to cases where the perpetrator's race could be identified by law enforcement. So, again, if you don't like the word propensity, we can throw the word propensity out. The reality on the ground as it stands today, when it comes to crime in the United States, within the Black race, particularly males between the ages of 15 and 35, they have a violent crime problem. The crime that they commit is asymmetrical, it is disproportionate to their numbers. It is astronomically high if you understand the math of what I have just read. So, why are so many Black activists on the internet crying anytime something happens to a Black person? It is asinine. That's my position. I recentered it, refocused it. That is that. If you want to deny those facts or try to put more context on it, the floor is yours. But that's my position.
We can't hear you, Aaron, if you're speaking.
Man, I tell you what, Keisha.
Yeah,
It's
thank you.
11:30, and Aaron is still having some mic issues. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin in this,
Yeah,
and
same
I'm,
here.
I'm gonna let you finish, close it out.
Yep.
And,
Okay.
uh,
All right,
mhm.
Chuck. Well, thanks for coming on. This was fun and great. And I think it was a fantastic conversation. Um, yes, Paul, exactly. Yes. Yeah, so thanks for coming on. We'll be back on Friday. I might have to change the time because my husband's birthday is on Friday. I know he's still going to work because he always does on his birthday. So we might change the time on Friday, but I think we'll be back on Friday. But just keep a lookout, everybody in the chat for the time for Friday. So we'll see. But Chuck, thanks for coming on.
Oh, no problem. I mean,
That was
bottom line,
fun.
bottom line, he has this conspiratorial mind, which is what plagues a lot of Black folks,
I was just about to say that.
which is why they can't get out of their own way. Because
Hmm.
what bottom line doesn't realize, and I don't know if he acts this out in his actual life, right? Because it's different when you're talking about on an individual level. But when you when you push the border, when you push the boundaries, when you extend the boundaries, and you take it on a push it out and extrapolate on a wider, larger, context, it changes things. You have to understand what that kind of thinking does to a mass of people, because you can't, to start off, you can't promote ideas of personal agency, like taking it upon yourself to study and go to the library, whilst at the same time embracing these ideas that there's a possibility that the medical establishment is trying to purposely shorten your lifespan.
I'm not going to become a doctor if I
Because
think that the doctor system is against me.
you're not going to see, the thing is, you're not going to become anything, because what you're going to
Yes.
do is you're going to trade-offs in economics. You're going to trade off the investment in the skills needed to become a doctor in exchange for things like activism, because you get more meaning and immediate gratification from raging against the system, because if there's this existential force, there's a force out there that means your destruction, your existential well-being becomes paramount above future reward for present day investment in human capital and skills. You don't want to become a doctor. You don't want to do anything productive when you actually believe that there's this system out there trying to destroy you. Your whole focus is going to be on destroying that thing, and it doesn't even exist. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
That's my last point.
Man, I pray that people get free, because this is no way to live. You're literally like so afraid of everything that's around the corner, and that is not freedom. You can't. It's like it's a slap in the face of God to be like, yes, I'm a Christian. I represent the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the King of the universe. I am his earthly representative, but I'm scared. I'm literally scared of other people. I
Yeah.
believe that they have some power over me, that God is too small to handle. Like, I don't serve a small God. We don't serve a small God. And that's why these conversations are so important. And we're going to keep having them, because it's like, not that I need to clear God's name, not that I need to clear Jesus as he got it all handled, but it's like, stop running around here. I'm a Christian. Christian, and you don't believe anything that's actually Christian. You don't believe the word of God. You don't believe in his power. You don't believe in his freedom. You don't believe anything about what he has said about you and life and how this thing works. You don't believe any of it. Y'all, these pro-blacks, they believe that America is like greater than God, that America has the ability, or that Americans, white Americans, have the ability to like overtake their life. And it's just, yo, you are not my brother. You're not my brother and sister, because how am I gonna be on the battlefield with a coward? You cannot be on any kind, you cannot be in a fight with a coward. You can't be in a fight, in a battle, in a war, a spiritual war, if you believe that your God, that your commander in chief is weak. Oh, the whites. I do not cower. Like, y'all got to go and read who your God really is. He's not cowering. Okay, none of this stuff phases him. And if you put your faith in him instead of your almighty white God, because that's really who you serve. That's who you think has all the real power. If we just want to keep it real, that's who you think really has the power, because that's all who you ever talk about. You only talk about their supposed power. You don't ever talk about the power of the Holy Spirit. You don't talk about the power of Yahweh. You don't talk about that. It's pathetic. Yeah. I'm a Christian, but I'm so terrified of the white. Get out. I don't want to hear it. Yeah. I don't want to hear it.
I'm gonna read DP's comment. He is spot on. It's paranoid delusion. He said paranoia is paralyzing, and why so many Black people are stuck like a hamster on a wheel, running in the same place but going nowhere.
My
They're
God.
paralyzed by paranoia. This what are you even talking about? Ryan Taylor just throwing out random questions. What about Reconstruction? What about Reconstruction? What are you just throwing
Exactly.
out stuff? Just paranoid delusions. These people need to be in a straitjacket and institutionalized
They need
because
deliverance.
they are insane.
You
Well,
need
yeah,
you need deliverance. The man, the man that Jesus that Jesus saw, the man that was cutting himself in the tomb,
yeah.
and
Mhm,
all the voices, or how about the
mhm,
one that was having the seizures? You know,
mhm.
you need deliverance, because this stuff, the enemy has literally captured your mind. He got you. All he got to do is dangle a little bit of racism in front of you, or dangle some threat of racism, or dangle some white
Yeah,
person doing something, and you are ready to fold like a wet paper bag. What the heck is God gonna do with that?
right. A young black man or teenager, I don't know how old he was, went on some kind of outing, a trip with his white friends, and came up dead. And then all of a sudden, I don't understand white people. What have we done to you? Hundreds of thousands of followers.
I think almost a million. She has like 700,000 on TikTok, and like 200 and almost 300,000 on Instagram alone.
Oh, DT. I don't know why I thought DT. I think I've been referring to DT as a he, and she ain't corrected me yet. I'm sorry, DT. I don't know why I assumed you were a man, because you say so much. You say so much intelligent things. I just assume you were a man because only men are smart. You know what I mean? Women in your little tiny brains. I'm shocked. You want
Wait a
preaching.
minute, are you a Muslim?
You shouldn't be on this preaching. What does First Timothy say?
Exactly right.
Let me get a
Yeah,
body. I'm gonna
DT,
let you
I
close
think we all thought that for a long time, but sorry, DT, because I think I've said that too. I'm so sorry.
out.
My bad.
But you go ahead and
But
close out. Let me get up out of here.
yes,
Go
all
ahead
right.
and close
Thank
out,
you
Keith.
so
I'm
much. This was
about to jump
awesome.
off.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
All right. Oh my gosh, you guys, what a great show. Thank you guys for being here. Megan, thank you, girl. Thank you. Thank you. Megs, that's my girl. Karen, I love y'all so much. DT, thank you. Thank you. I love you guys for being here. Katie, I think Katie might have had a dip, but Katie, is Katie? Oh yeah, Katie's still here. We are victoriously overcomers in Jesus. Amen. Amen to that. Paul, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope your son is doing better. We are definitely praying for him. We got him on the prayer list. Oddball, you can't see a coward till in its action time. Yeah, you don't see them. Let's see. We watch. Thank you so much. A harm's way. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Even Ryan, thank you. Oh, a new guest. You are my sister, Keisha, and you are mine. I peep the sisterhood in the comments. I do. Mrs. Graves, the woman of wisdom, Mrs. Graves. I love you all. William Graves. I know you ain't no kin to Mrs. Graves because she don't talk like you, but thanks for being here, sir. Racehorse, the lady Cara, thank you, thank you. Everybody, y'all know my heart. I love you all for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Miss Grace says, I thought that too, DT, because DT, yeah. Oh, yeah, spiritual discernment. Thanks for being here. People forget Satan is our true enemy. So true. So true. Tres gente. Let's see. Black Guy 9. Everybody, I love you guys for watching. Okay, so just be on the lookout for the time for Friday. I think we are still gonna do it, but I gotta make sure my husband is good because it's his birthday and he deserves, all the things. So let me check out, make sure what we're doing, and if not, then we'll be back on Monday. But be on the lookout. I love you guys for watching. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure when this is over, hit the like button, leave a comment, and hype me up. Hype me up. All right, you guys, I'll see you later.